Chapter 76. Killian sneered, "Tony Stark, do you think you won?" After saying that, he took out a controller with a red button and smiled evilly, "I put a small toy on them." Tony glanced at Levi and said unusually calmly, "I hope that's true." Standing by. Transform. Complete. In the sea breeze, the white and blue lines extended, and Levi transformed into Delta, holding a larger device in his hand. Rhodes lost the blessing of Levi's mana and the space door was closed. Tony threw down a few pieces of driftwood and a lifebuoy in advance, which was enough for the two of them to hold on for a few minutes. Remove the memory chip and insert it into the gun butt type device in your hand. Pressing the confirmation button on the device, the tail of the gun stock opened, revealing a core embedded inside. The pale core energy quickly spread throughout the body along the photon flow channel in Levi's hand. Powerful air waves erupted from Delta's body, the white photon blood became darker, the blue 26 had disappeared, and the red eyes became even redder. The black Luna metal soft armor contrasts with the pale photon flow channel. The overall look is stronger and more powerful, and the inverted triangle upper body is full of explosive power. The Apollo metal on the chest became transparent, revealing the precise mechanical device behind the breastplate. The entire form transformation process only takes a second or two. Quickly press the button on the gun stock, enter 555, and the gun stock will start shape-shifting. Levi inserted Delta's cell phone into the gun handle, and as the enter key was pressed again, white steam surged from Delta's breastplate. The armor on Delta's chest peeled off to reveal the white drive core, and a 10-second countdown appeared on the small display on the butt of the gun. "Give your life for these 10 seconds. Killian." Bang! Bang! Levi jumped up and jumped back and forth on the container. It felt like time had stopped around him. The water droplets passed by his eyes, and the sliding trajectory of the water droplets could be clearly seen. In Levi's eyes, Lien slowly pressed the controller in his hand. But in Killian's sight, he only saw a black shadow shooting towards him. Phew! Feeling pain in his chest, Killian looked down and saw that an arm had penetrated his heart. With a strong swing of the arm, half of his body was torn apart, and the arm holding the detonator also followed. The tear in the arm flew with it. Puff! Levi squeezed Killian's heart hard, and then threw it at his feet like trash. "I thought it was black, but it turned out to be red." Levi pushed Killian, and the guy fell straight to the ground. Then the blood in his body became unstable, and with a roar, Killian's whole body exploded, and the flames ignited the freighter. Levi switched transformations, opened the space door and took everyone back to New York. The president was sent back to Washington by SHIELD. Ed stayed in New York waiting for Tony to give him a new battlesuit. The Iron Patriot has been scrapped in previous battles to protect the president. Rhodes could only wait for Tony to give him another one. Tony used the previously blown battlesuit parts to assemble another battlesuit and gave it to Rhodes. Rhodes was extremely happy when he saw the higher-tech battlesuit, not knowing that it was battle-damaged goods that Tony had repaired and assembled using various damaged parts. Rhodes changed his battlesuit back to War Machine, and Iron Patriot attracted more hatred. Rhodes said extremely seriously, "I will never accept the task of protecting the president again. After all, the president of the United States is more likely to get into trouble than the president of other countries." Tony also agrees that it is almost impossible for ordinary people in this world to be president. In the future, choose a strong person as president, like Captain America. If Captain America becomes president of the United States, the American people will celebrate nationwide. Rhodes put on his new War Machine battlesuit and returned to his department to change the color. Tony began to work on eliminating Extremis from Pepper's body, but under Levi's suggestion, Tony decided to retain some of the effects of Extremis. Self-healing ability is still very useful. A few days later, Pepper woke up with no other symptoms except that her body temperature was slightly higher than normal. Pepper's current body resistance and self-healing ability are stronger than ordinary people. After Happy recovered, he mainly served as Pepper's bodyguard. By the way, he also became the eldest brother of Fiu and Octopus. He and his two younger brothers were responsible for Tony and Pepper's daily travel. Happy is very concerned about his own changes and even feels a little inferior. This can only be enlightened slowly. A few days later, Captain America took the initiative to contact him. After a long period of bargaining, he finally got a lot of compensation from the military. And because Tony and Levi rescued the president, the government gave the Avengers certain privileges. The Avengers originally had the authorization of the Security Council. As the world's vigilantes, now that a country has proactively recognized it, their rights have increased. Although the government has intentional restrictions on this organization, it still has no excuse to take action. Taking advantage of public opinion? Are you better than Stark? Physics limitations? Can you put physics on a superhero? Because the current president was exhausted physically and mentally after the kidnapping incident and wanted to abdicate, and the vice president was taken down for colluding with Killian, the president became a hot potato for a while. In desperation, the National Congress had no choice but to let the new presidential election begin. Levi had a flash of inspiration, and then Captain America ran for president. Now that people all over the world know about superheroes and supernatural crimes, having Captain America as president can actually enhance people's trust in superheroes. Captain America thinks it makes sense, but he refuses in his heart. After becoming president, he became a vase and had to be protected wherever he went. He didn't like that feeling. Tony rolled his eyes and agreed with Levi's approach. He also began to encourage Captain America to run for president every now and then, and even let the media release the news in advance that Captain America would run for president. All of a sudden, all the major media outlets were in a frenzy, various news began to be broadcast, and major interviews were analyzing this behavior. Generally speaking, there are still more people supporting it, and the ratio even reaches 5 to 1. Winter Soldier also helped persuade Captain America to let him be the president. If he is not used to it, he can resign. So Captain America was confused, but he still ran for the election. When Nick Fury heard about this, his face felt as if he had returned to the days of cotton farming and was as dark as sunburned all day long. What else can these two Starks do besides cause trouble? Is Steve the one? Nick Fury recalled Captain America's mindless and reckless military behavior, but it was not him who wiped HYDRA in the end. It would be great if Captain America became president. Chapter 77. Captain America was very busy during this period, working hard to win votes, and was taken to various events and charity galas by Tony. Captain America was almost turned into Stark's spokesperson by Pepper's arrangement. But Captain America outperformed other candidates, and the votes were not of the same magnitude at all. As time goes by, Congress announces the results. Finally, Captain America succeeded in becoming the President of the United States. Before he moved into the White House, Nick Fury, in order to celebrate Captain America's success in becoming the President, offered to let his right-hand man become Captain America's secretary. Captain America thought his secretary was a Black Widow, but it turned out to be Peggy Carter's niece Sharonka, etc. Levi immediately understood that this was Nick Fury's honey trap. Nick Fury, this damn farm tool, let him look good later. After saying that, Levi slipped in through the back door left by Tony in the S.H.I.E.L.D system and unscrupulously checked out S.H.I.E.L.D's new records and various information. Let me check out the S.H.I.E.L.D Academy. Levi directly put his mind to the S.H.I.E.L.D Academy. After looking at the latest S.H.I.E.L.D Academy activities, Levi couldn't help but smile and said, "I have an exam recently, right?" Transformed into a golden magician, directly covered himself with hidden magic, and followed the network cable. Nick Fury asked an agent to correct his exam paper. It was rude to not reciprocate. Levi directly revised the papers of the S.H.I.E.L.D Academy students, scribbling out the answers. Those who originally had the lowest grades were changed to first, those who were originally at the top all failed, and the average students' grades were all stuck on the passing line, giving them 1 more point. Anything less depends on your mood. A few days later, the results were released. Except for full marks and 0 marks, which are stuck on the passing score line, such weird test results have never happened before. Nothing unusual was found on the monitor. After Nick Fury learned about this incident, how could he not know who did it? He immediately called Levi. "Are you particularly boring? Are you still acting like a superhero who saves the world? Aren't you bored? If you're not bored, you can correct my exam paper." Only then did Nick Fury remember what he had done. After all, he, the director, did not bother to remember such children's playful behavior. "One more thing, Sharon Carter, do you think I don't know who she is? What does it mean to send her to Captain America now? Believe it or not, I will go to Captain America to stir up trouble? A honey trap, right? A plot against the president, right?" Levi is still in charge of Winter Soldier, and his relationship with Captain America is much closer than the relationship between Nick Fury and Captain America. Listen Levi, it's just to test your character. It turns out that you are a good kid and deserve to be a superhero. Mr. Nick Fury said while feeling the corners of his eyes twitching. Being able to say such things against his will, Nick Fury feels that he is worthy of being the agent leader of SHIELD. Do you think I won't sneak in and correct the papers next time if you just say a few nice words? Then how about I introduce you to a few students of your age who have not yet graduated? They all look good. You think I am this kind of person? Isn't Natasha Romanoff great? I don't have to worry about the aftermath. Levi's accentuated tone made Nick Fury feel like he was touching a tiger's butt. 2. Send me your contact information and agree with her in advance. At least she is a beauty on the level of Elizabeth Olsen. By the way, I also have trypophobia, you know. Nick Fury. Wait until someone contacts you, and why didn't I know you still have trypophobia? Nick Fury felt that Levi's information seemed to be updated. After all, it has not been updated for a year. Unexpectedly, the other party had some more weaknesses during this year. But Levi's next words instantly filled his head with blood. I hate narrow-minded people. Nick Fury hung up the phone, clutching his chest. Resolved. Hill asked. Nick Fury nodded without saying a word. He was afraid that his anger would be poured out at will on his trusted subordinates. One more thing, Director. The virus implanted into the system by the Kamen Rider was removed by the Stability Maintenance Department. That's not a good thing. What next? The system is down. Shit. Nick Fury picked up the phone and tried to save money to call Levi, but then gave up. Hill, you can be the mayor from now on, or Phil Coulson. Nick Fury feels that there is no love in the world anymore, and people's hearts are not as old as they used to be. Computer viruses have a death rattle effect. Nick Fury casually contacted the S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy and asked them to find a beautiful girl to contact Levi, and sent a phone number. Although the person in charge of the college did not understand what Nick Fury meant, according to the agent charter, this kind of thing should be an attempt to steal some important information or items. Nick Fury didn't say anything about deceiving through feelings. The teachers at S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy had a headache, so they could only find the recognized school beauties of the academy to do it. A few days later. Sure enough, Levi received a call. Hello. A sweet voice came from the other end of the phone. Just hearing the voice made people feel excited. Who are you? Li Wei thought he had seen strong winds and waves and would not be seduced by this voice, but he was still moved. I was introduced by Aunt Pepper. Pepper. Levi was stunned. He thought it was Nick Fury who was looking for him, but he didn't expect it to be Pepper's niece. But why did her niece contact him? What's the matter with you? Didn't Aunt Pepper say? It's a blind date. Hey? Let's get straight to the point. Tell me what I want. I don't have any special requirements. I know how to cook. I often take you to travel around the world. I go to Disney once every 3 days and Phuket once every 5 days. I want to always be the first in your heart. I definitely like Cartier. Brands, Gucci and Chanel are also acceptable. I will be very happy if you give them to me. That's all for now. Levi's face darkened. What kind of weird thing is this? Would a shrewd woman like Sister Pepper introduce this kind of thing? Do you want to hear what I think a girlfriend should be like? Okay, you tell me. The other party said he was willing to listen. It can fly, it can spray flames, and it can handle 100,000 volts. It can shake concrete with one hand, and it can disassemble and install the self-destruction device carefully prepared by Tony Stark with one hand. If you have a kind heart, give me your umbrella on a rainy day, and you can shake the flowers and fly with your own hand. Go back, to King Neo, my job is more dangerous. If you see an enemy, you have to know the specium ray and ninjutsu. Who can repair the dam? The air was stagnant for a moment, and the call was hung up. You think I'm being taken advantage of? It turns out that it's the undergraduate student who brought the farm tools, and he even learned how to fake it. Levi cursed and left the residence. If he was unhappy, he would find some fun pastime. For example, those vampires in London who are crying for food are becoming more and more dishonest and always want to suck grandma. Open the space door and go to Avengers Tower to recruit people. Recently, the Avengers' own building has been completed and moved here from the previous base. Avengers Tower is fully sponsored by Stark Industries, and its logo is a capital A with a circle. The #1 leader of the Avengers Alliance is still Captain America, but Captain America is too busy now and is only in name only, and is actually managed by Tony. The London Vampire mission was passed down to the Avengers Alliance from the UK. Chapter 78. It's time to deal with these remnants of the old era. Levi closed the vampire information provided by SHIELD. The information states the origin of vampires, as well as the current distribution of vampire forces and the location of the vampire castle. Except for Dickon, who is colluding with the forces of Enoch, the rest of the vampire forces are currently concentrated in London, and they seem to have been recalled by someone. This time, I am also preparing to catch them all. People who are not my race must have different minds, not to mention humans and vampires are completely different species. In addition to the Winter Soldier, Flying Fish, and Octopus that Levi asked for one person and two Ophi, Nick Fury also deliberately threw the Blade Warrior to Levi. This black, half-vampire, half-human guy said as soon as they met, Dickon awakened the Blood Clan elders and planned to control them to become kings on their own. Only the Blood Clan elders can recall all the vampires outside. Winter Soldier asked, so since we want to kill them all, why not just throw a white phosphorus bomb down? The speed is fast, but have you ever thought that some people don't want vampires to be exterminated? After speaking, Levi threw the information compiled by S.H.I.E.L.D to Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier opened it and looked at the information. After a long time, he solemnly said, "No wonder. These vampires have been keeping humans captive deep in the castle. These humans, called blood slaves, were secretly provided to them by the British government. S.H.I.E.L.D once requested to clean up those 153 vampires but was ruthlessly rejected by the British government. It can be guessed that some British nobles and politicians have reached cooperation with vampires, so S.H.I.E.L.D has never had the chance to take action and can only conduct secret investigations. The most recent record was 2 years ago. But now the Avengers don't use the S.H.I.E.L.D method. Levi has no control over the attitude of the British government. Anyway, it is just condemnation and strong condemnation. When Levi said that vampires united with aliens to attempt to subvert human power, the Security Council had no choice but to agree. Just throw some dirty water and say that vampires united with terrorists and Enoch to destroy mankind. If the British government dares to stop it, it is the same as the terrorists. I will help you clean up those nobles and officials. The Avengers, who are now at the peak of their power, are qualified to speak like this. I am the Avengers who can't be controlled by your SHIELD. I can be solved by the Avengers Alliance, which can't be solved by your S.H.I.E.L.D, even without the permission of the World Security Council. Just asking you, will the British government dare to speak out if it knows about it? After opening the space door, Levi took the other 4 people directly from New York to London. Not far away is Brown Castle in northeast outer London. We have a better chance of winning during the day. Blade Warrior expressed reservations. It is already late afternoon, the sun is setting in the west, and soon the sunlight that vampires fear will disappear from the sky and the earth. Li Wei said indifferently, that kind of thing can't cause any trouble. My main entrance is up to you. Levi took out his Delta phone and put it to his ear and said transformation. Soon the blue-white photon flow path extended and the transformation was completed. He drew a small portal at random, reached in and pulled out the explosive butt. It is quite convenient for Tony to integrate burst mode and acceleration mode into one piece of equipment. The last time he killed Killian, he used acceleration mode. This time Levi plans to try burst mode. Insert the Delta phone into the burst gun stock, and as the appearance changes, the burst mode transformation is completed. The blast stock also transforms into a multi-barreled shotgun-like weapon. Delta's explosion mode is still very oppressive, and it only differs from the acceleration mode in the chest position. In burst mode, there is a black breastplate on the chest, while in acceleration mode, there is no breastplate and one core is exposed. The others set out to take action, while Li Wei appeared swaggeringly at the outer gate of the castle courtyard wall. Kicking the courtyard door away, the huge amounts of sound summoned some vampires to come and check. Kamen Rider. Why is he here? Damn. He must be here for the boss. Go and inform the boss. For a while, there was constant noise. Who doesn't know how the Kamen Rider showed his power in the Battle of New York? Soon, the sky was covered with dark clouds, and the only sunset was blocked. The sky and the earth became completely dark, and Levi felt an inexplicable familiarity. It should be, Gi, Dickon's ability to change the weather. A winged figure flew from the sky. Song saw Dickon landing with a wicked smile on his face. Long time no see, Kamen Rider. Levi replied angrily, it's a great honor for me to be greeted by the vampire boss in person. Looking at the many vampires around him, Levi couldn't help but sneer. What are you doing here, sir? Vampires have signed a non-aggression treaty with the British government. We have ceased war with humans and can even be called allies now. Dickon didn't have the confidence to face the Kamen Rider, although he had already absorbed ability of some Blood Clan elders. Nothing, just. Levi dropped the blaster butt he was holding, pulled the trigger directly, and 4 light bullets were fired violently, knocking Dickon away. Dickon's eyes widened and he looked at Levi's figure getting further and further away in disbelief. He didn't expect that the majestic Kamen Rider would directly do something evil. The British government cannot represent humanity. Levi finished his words after firing the black gun. Dickon was attacked, and the vampires became angry and rushed toward Levi one after another. Levi held the explosive butt on his shoulder with one hand and swung away a vampire with the other. Vampires have far superior strength, speed, senses, and endurance than ordinary people, and they also have the ability to heal quickly. The purer the bloodline of vampires, the uglier they are. Some even have mouths grinning like chrysanthemums, which is extremely ugly. The skin color is not pale, but rather dull or even a little blue. These vampires are just stronger than ordinary humans and are not enough to be seen in front of superheroes. This group of vampire minions couldn't even break through Levi's defense. On the contrary, Levi's powerful punch could even penetrate the vampire's stomach. Soon, there was a strange noise in the castle, and more vampires ran out of the castle, chasing the Winter Soldier and others. The young girls who were protected by Winter Soldier and others fled in terror. They were the latest blood slaves raised by vampires. The blood slaves that have lost their value will be eaten by vampires, while the blood slaves that still have value are raised like piglets in a basement without seeing the light of day, sleeping in beautiful dreams all day long, providing delicious food to the vampires in reality. Of blood. Founding in the east and attacking in the west. Dickon transformed into the Bat of Enoch, flying in the air and looking at the Blade Warriors and others with a fierce look. P.S. Thanks for the reward, another October comes as promised. Reading the comments, some readers said that it looked a bit messy. If you find the messy part, you can leave a message directly and we will modify it. However, it is not recommended to skip reading because the pace is indeed very tight. If you skip reading, you will not be able to connect quickly. When it comes to water, it is really a conscience. The rhythm of the story is already very tight, and occasionally it is necessary to transition between 2 pieces of water. The main line of the story is still the movie universe, and the others are branch lines. Chapter 79. Come out all of them and kill them. Following Dickon's order, ferocious vampires emerged from the windows, doors, and even excrement holes of the castle. Levi set up the blaster and harvested the vampire's life every time he pulled the trigger. Fixed point forts were set up, and Winter Soldier and Fiyu protected Li Wei. Winter Soldier brought a special silver dagger and smeared it on the neck of the vampire who rushed forward. The vampire immediately turned into ashes. His fighting skills were not comparable to those of those vampires. Flying Fish's of Enoch form has a large water gun like a crossbow in his hand. The blue and white arrows he fires can explode a vampire's head with accurate shooting. Seeing that his subordinates were getting fewer and fewer, Dickon swooped down and punched Levi directly. The Blade Warrior, who had been staring at Dickon, jumped up with his sword drawn, and slashed down with silver light. Bakatana only left a spark on Dickon's bat wing. Dickon sneered, Daywalker. Your knife is useless. Daywalker is what vampires call Blade Warriors. The Blade Warrior said something that seemed to have no meaning in Dickon's eyes, it's really of no use. Soon a pale Mitsubishi cone of light locked onto him. Levi threw away his blaster, jumped up on the spot, and kicked him over. Explosion. Fallen Angel's hammer. Bang. As Levi enters the Mitsubishi cone mask, the tip of the mask penetrates it instantly. However, the imagined transformation of Dickon into ashes did not happen. The pierced Dickon's body actually recovered from the injury at a speed visible to the naked eye. Perhaps this was another way in which Orpheus Enoch could extend his life. He absorbed the Blood Clan elders, and his ability has been greatly improved. This recovery speed is probably even faster than Dracula, the ancestor of vampires. The Blade Warrior also found it a bit tricky. Levi nodded to the Winter Soldier beside him. Use the one Tony gave me. Winter Soldier understood, and then took out a grenade from his tactical belt, pulled out the ring and threw it at Dickon. Boom! Ordinary grenades against him. The Blade Warrior's eyes widened before he could finish his words. I saw the grenade exploded and scattered a pile of liquid on Dickon's body. The strong acid corroded Dickon's body, causing him to let out a piercing scream. The acid corrodes the flesh, and then the flesh is decocted. Over and over again, this kind of pain is more torturous than the hammer of the fallen angel. Dickon can only tear apart the flesh and blood with the severe pain and peel off the strong acid. But the second acid bomb came again. Although Tony didn't participate in the war, he accompanied us in another way. Levi cancelled the transformation and opened a small portal to send the explosive butt back. Levi looked at the Blade Warrior and asked, "Is his self-healing infinite?" Blade Warrior shook his head, "I don't know either. If there is nothing in the castle, then clean up the surrounding vampires, arrest Dickon, and leave. Dracula is in the castle." The Blade Warrior told the truth, the information he obtained from sneaking into the castle, but he did not find out where Dracula was. That's not easy. Levi looked around, found a living vampire and picked it up. "Is this vampire a purebred?" Blade Warrior scratched his head, "It was like choosing a dog. You should be considered a noble." Levi held up the half-broken vampire and asked, "Where is Dracula?" The top vampire said tremblingly, "The wine cellar has a mechanism to open the underground passage, leading to the underground palace, where His Majesty is sleeping. Please let me go, I have never harmed a human being." "Really? I am just pure blood, as long as I lie down there are vampires who bring fresh blood to my mouth. I have never killed anyone." When Levi's hand was released, a red electric current erupted, killing him instantly. No snowflake is innocent in an avalanche. It's okay not to explain, but this explanation makes me even more angry. Where did the Blood Clan capitalist come from? Levi switched his belt, transformed into a golden magician and walked straight into the castle. Winter Soldier and others stayed to play with Dickon. I found the so-called wine cellar, and the wine racks were full of red bottles of wine. I didn't know whether it was blood or real red wine. Levi was not interested in looking for the so-called mechanism. He directly looked through the passage behind the wall, destroyed the wall and went in directly. "Take the spiral staircase down to the bottom." Just as Levi stepped on the last level one step, the torches on both sides suddenly lit up. What catches the eye is the huge palace door not far away. This door is magnificent and made entirely of gold. The door handle is two bat heads. Levi opened the door directly and walked into the dark palace. In the center stood a European-style coffin and nothing else. Levi looked at the coffin and suddenly thought of a good idea. After opening the portal, suddenly huge amounts of suction came from the coffin, sucking it directly into the portal. The portal quickly closed. The portal is connected to the orbit of Jupiter. Even if Dracula is immortal and can survive in the vacuum, it is not easy to return to Earth with a pair of flesh wings. *NTT. After opening the ultra-long-distance portal, Levi also felt a little depressed. Back outside the castle, before Levi could get any doubts, he saw Fei running over and saying in panic, "Boss, that damn vampire used the atomization ability to escape." Winter Soldier and Blade Soldier went after it, but now they have lost contact. "Where's the chicken, where's the octopus?" Levi didn't expect that Dickon was still hiding something. He had only been away for about 10 minutes, and the situation had changed so much. That guy is where the two disappeared. Let's go take a look. When the last contact was made, the two people were in a warehouse a few kilometers away from the castle. When Levi and Fei arrived here, in addition to the octopus AF Enoch who had returned to his human form, there was also an old friend of Levi. "Are you Jane Foster?" Levi cancelled the transformation. Seeing Levi's face, Jane suddenly realized. "It's you. Should I call you Levi or Kamen Rider? And where's that BD scumbag Thor? He promised to come to me, but he ran away after the Battle of New York became a big hit." Jane Foster, pour out your bitterness to Levi. Levi had no choice but to explain, "Thor needs to escort Loki back to Asgard. Once the matter is settled, I believe you will be able to meet soon. I will never forgive him anyway." Only then did Levi ask about business, "What are you doing here?" Jane explained, "I detected a special wavelength here, which is the same as the wavelength when Thor left the Earth with Bifrost. I came to watch because it may be related to Thor." Levi could only lament Jane's good luck. If they hadn't come to exterminate the vampires, she would have been caught by the vampires and taken back as a blood slave. Noticed that the walkie-talkie-like device in Jane's hand should be the special wavelength detected by this little invention. So. Levi frowned, the plot of Thor 2? Levi looked toward the center of the bare warehouse. Do any of you have any sundries? Levi asked. Octopus took out a lighter and a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He felt that he had taken it by mistake, so he quickly took the cigarette back and said naively, only the lighter. Call him smart. He also knew that the situation was not right and could not follow the Winter Soldier. Call him stupid, but that's too stupid. Levi took the lighter and threw it towards the center of the warehouse. The lighter disappeared in midair in the center of the warehouse before it even hit the ground. Chapter 80. It's a space node. Levi walked directly over, stretched out his hand to touch, and his hand seemed to penetrate a layer of film, and then Levi walked in. Boss. Fiyu hesitated to follow. I'll go take a look too. Jane, on the other hand, followed directly without fear at all. At the moment in this different space. Bang. 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 As soon as he came in, he heard the sound of fighting nearby. The surrounding area was a little dark and surrounded by stone pillars. Levi transformed into a golden magician again and walked faster to find the sound. In a strange abandoned building, Winter Soldier with his long hair spread out and Blade Warrior with a bald head were holding Dickon down and hammering on the ground. This Dickon was still nailed to the ground with a silver dagger, and Winter Soldier punched him in the face with a 740 punch from the left and a right, and blood spurted out with each punch. Step aside. Hearing the familiar voice, the two jumped away without looking back. Then a golden magic circle unfolded, and ice swept out from the golden magic circle. Dickon endured the wind and snow and was frozen into ice. After cutting off Dickon's head, Levi took ahead and took the two of them to leave here. I don't know which world this is, so it doesn't matter if I leave Dickon's body here. You two didn't feel anything at all? You actually chased them to other dimensions. It's understandable that the Blade Warrior hates vampires, but why does the Winter Soldier? Captain America is the president, but he is still a member of the team. Is there a status gap? However, before walking far, Levi found Jane Foster lying not far away. She came here too. Levi sighed. Winter Soldier asked doubtfully, do you know him? This woman came in with me, Thor's human girlfriend. Levi simply said, then walked over and hugged the other person. Thor's girlfriend, I've heard of it. Winter Soldier said that he knew about her, but he had never met her. Leave this world where TIE particles are sealed and return to Earth. Levi exchanged a few words with the Winter Soldier, handed him Dickon's head, and then took Jane through the portal to Kamartaj. But just after Levi left, a beam of light fell from the sky. It was Asgard's Bifrost. Thor landed in full military uniform. Thor. Hey, brother, I remember you, you are, Thor felt embarrassed after seeing Winter Soldier. He couldn't remember the name of this teammate he had fought with. Winter Soldier nodded helplessly, just call me Bucky. Yes, Bucky, my comrade, you have a great arm. Thor pretended to be familiar with it, but his eyes were not here at all, but looking around. Winter Soldier noticed his strange behavior and asked, who are you looking for, your girlfriend? Have you seen Jane? Yes, he had some problems, and Levi took him for treatment. Thor quickly asked, Heimdall did say that he could no longer see Jane. Where did Levi take her? Kamartaj, should be meeting the Sorcerer Supreme. Thor scratched his head. If it was somewhere else, he would just go there, but Thor said he was a little timid there. Odin warned him that he needed to respect the Sorcerer Supreme of the Earth and not be reckless or impulsive. Because the Earth is nominally covered by Asgard, in fact the Sorcerer Supreme is the one who truly protects the Earth. I'd better go with you to meet those good comrades. Thor followed the Winter Soldier to the Avengers Tower to meet his former comrades. At the same time, Levi came to Kamartaj and placed Jane in front of the Ancient One. The Ancient One knew that Li Wei was coming and came back just in time before Li Wei. You shouldn't have brought this girl. This is her destiny. Without this experience, many things would have changed. Levi disagreed with the Ancient One's point of view. There are too many things that have changed. Do you still care about this? Can you transfer the TIE particles? The Ancient One looked at Jane Foster, who was placed on the table, thought for a long time and said, I'll give it a try. The Ancient One obviously knew that the TIE particles were the reality gem, so he directly used the power of the time gem in the Eye of Agamotto. Jane was enveloped in the green light released by the Eye of Agamotto. Her body assumed various postures as if time had gone backwards, and dark red light particles flowed out. The dark red particles flowing out were like water, slowly gathering in Ancient One's hand, and finally gathered into a red gem suspended in Ancient One's palm. The red gemstone is very translucent, bright red on the outside and dark red on the inside. This is the first time Levi has seen infinite gems rough stones. What do you want to do? Ancient One looked at Levi. Levi took the reality gem, and at the moment of contact, a scarlet energy turned into water and poured into the belt. Seeing this strange thing, Levi panicked a little, and when he was about to cancel the transformation, Ancient One stopped him and said, "Don't worry, your belt is receiving reality gem." What's going on? Levi didn't notice anything strange about his body. Your belt is perfectly capable of carrying the power of the infinite gems. The Ancient One frowned. She didn't really want Levi to use infinite gems. Now many things have deviated from the original track. Although they are developing for the better, the future is not static, and there is no telling whether things will change. It will destroy mankind and even destroy the Earth. You should know the ability of 0.6 Reality Gem. Li Wei replied, "Definitely, Reality Gem can manipulate reality, ignoring science and law, and can alter everything in reality on its own." Li Wei heard from Wang in great detail the power of each infinite gems. The Ancient One continued, "What do you want to do with it?" Levi always felt that Ancient One was on guard against him, and explained, "It has something to do with the belt. I want to try to modify one of the powers." "Don't you still believe me?" Ancient One sighed and said, "Feel Reality Gem with your heart, and it will respond to you soon. Reality Gem cannot be used alone and needs to be paired with other infinite gems. Next, I will use Time Gem to assist you." Chapter 81. Levi touched the Reality Gem and stood there motionless, having given up his mind. The Ancient One saw that it was not shy and simply allowed it to show off its power. Slowly, Levi felt his body become lighter. When he opened his eyes, he had appeared in a special space. This space is strange and strange. The sky is divided by the Milky Way, its day on the left, night on the right, and the floor under your feet is also made of foam of various colors. Each foot will have a dimple. There was a bookshelf in front of him. Levi walked over curiously and saw various numbers written on these books. I randomly picked up a book with Earth 1610 written on it and opened it. The content turned out to be a Marvel comic, the story of the Ultimate Universe. Memories surged, and it seemed like all the forgotten memories were recalled here. Levi suddenly realized it and looked down at his belt. The knights that this belt can transform into are all knights he has defeated, except for the Dragon Knights. He was reborn in the world of Kamen Rider 555 and was adopted by a middle-aged man in an orphanage. The middle-aged man's name was Hanagata, and he was the developer of belts such as Delta and Phase. He was implanted with the mark of A.F. Enoch, and became childhood sweethearts with the heroine Truth. Finally, he went through a series of things and transformed into the crow A.F. Enoch. After defeating the dragon A.F., he obtained the Delta belt. A.F. Enoch's lifespan was not stable, so Levi chose to join the Intelligent Brain group in order to survive. In the end, the King of Enoch was killed, and he became an abandoned son of the Intelligent Brain group. Later, I met that person. Kato Yaji, Kamen Rider Decade. Travel with him to other worlds. Fengdu, Dragon Rider, Parallel World Phase, Witch Rider. The final memory remained in the special world of All Knights vs. Overhaul card. He joined forces with the Imperial Cavalry to eliminate Overhaul card from that world. The memory ends. Some other memories were also received, and Levi finally knew where this place was, the place where the inspiration within Reality Gem took shape. Different worlds in the multi-universe are recorded here in the form of comics. Levi looked at the comics on the bookshelf tirelessly until he opened the last book, Earth 199999. This was originally a movie universe, but it was also recorded in the form of comics. It was exactly the same as the movies in his memory. After putting down Earth 199999, Levi was about to quit here, but a thin booklet attracted his attention. The codename Earth 199999A is written on the cover of this booklet. Levi's scalp went numb when he opened it. It recorded his story as a Kamen Rider. It was he who took over the Reality Gem from the Ancient Ten recently. Could it be that the world that I am in, which should belong to Earth 199999, is becoming independent? Suddenly there was a sudden spin, and Levi's consciousness returned. "Perception," came the gentle voice of Ancient One. Levi said, "I just entered the inside of Reality Gem." Levi stopped as he spoke, because his memory of the obvious sensory place was receding like a tide. But some memories from the past have returned to my mind with great clarity. The place where inspiration takes shape. Ancient One showed a half-smiling expression, and then said, "It's normal for you to forget what happened there." Levi nodded and focused on using Reality Gem. Following his thoughts, scarlet energy from the Reality Gem emerged to wrap around the belt, and the wise driver turned back into a silver-white simple belt, and his transformation was cancelled. The belt separated from the body and floated in front of Levi with red light. At this time, Lui also used Eye of Agamotto to release a large amount of red light. The projection emerged, and the countdown was still there. There were still more than 100 days left, and now with the help of Time Gem, the countdown was accelerating. As the scarlet light gradually weakened, the original silver-white belt also changed its appearance. "It's not the one I imagined. It can only become like this for the time being." The Ancient One didn't know what Levi wanted, but the two gems had reached their limit. The two gems have been pushed to the extreme. If you still can't modify the reality you want, then you need more powerful power. Maybe you can use the Li Huang gem with the reality gem to complete it. Power gem. Levi pondered for a long time. You can get the power gem by participating in the plot of Guardians of Galaxy. Maybe it's time to take to the universe. But before that, the Dark Elves need to be dealt with first, and the 9 Stars Lianzu will begin soon. Levi placed the reality gem in front of his belt, and the belt seemed to suck the reality gem in with suction. The moment it merged, the belt rippled like water. "You plan to carry the reality gem?" Ancient One felt that what was happening now was getting more and more confusing. "Isn't it possible?" Levi asked back, "It's better to have it with me than to have it taken away by Thanos. It's good that you have this kind of confidence, but the more infinite gems the Earth has, the more likely it will be trouble. Thanos, also known as Thanos, has begun to encroach on the Earth. Although I don't know what he has to rely on, we can't take it lightly. I will leave the Earth temporarily after things on Earth are resolved. I hope the infinite gems will not bring disaster." The Ancient One looked down at the sleeping girl, touched her forehead and said, "This is also a child who suffers a fate. A disease will make her leave this world." Li Wei smiled and said, "It won't be too painful, at least she is very healthy now." "Did you use reality gem?" Ancient One was surprised, completely unaware that Levi also used reality gem on Jane Foster. She could see Jane's life with the Eye of Agamotto, and Jane's end still made her very sad. Otherwise the Earth could use one more superhero. Li 073 Wei Zhenji Lingran said, "I believe that everyone's destiny should be controlled by themselves, I just help her to better control her own destiny. You always have some crooked ideas. Well, take her back. That reckless Thor must be impatient." The Ancient One began to drive away the guests, and Levi bowed deeply to the Ancient One, and then took Jane to open the portal and return to New York. However, just after he returned to Avengers Tower, Levi walked out of the portal. A black shadow as strong as an ox suddenly attacked him and pushed him back to the portal. Bang! Levi lay in shock on the floor of Camartage, looking at the ceiling, and the bald Ancient One also appeared in his sight. Ancient One greeted in a sinister manner, "What did I say? Welcome back, Levi. It's rather reckless." Levi sat up and looked at the situation on the other side of the portal. The blonde man was stroking Jane's face with a look of pity, looking very much like Shu Tai, the monster next door who is common in the Chicken Country. Under the gaze of the Ancient One, Levi rushed into the space door, flew forward and kicked the opponent in the face with precision. The blonde man was kicked away and hit the filing cabinet. His strong body crushed the filing cabinet. The blonde man saw Jane making a parabola and was about to fall to the ground. At this moment, a pair of hands appeared in his sight and caught Jane steadily. "I thought it was an alien pervert, but it turned out to be our Thor," Levi asked knowingly. Chapter 82. Thor got up from the ground and was about to get angry. After hearing Levi's words, he decisively put on a happy expression. "Hey, brother, long time no see. You really miss me? I really want to give you a hug. Before that, can you tell me what happened to Jane? This woman is really heavy." Levi threw Jane to Thor. Thor hugged Jane, who was thrown back and forth by the two of them, and woke up at this time. When Jane saw Thor, she was a little stunned at first, but then she slapped him with a big mouth. This slap made Tony and Rhodes, who had been fighting next to each other, couldn't help but say wow. Why? Thor was even more confused. Jane said calmly, sorry. I just made sure it was a real person. Well, I'm glad to see you are so energetic. Thor put Jane down and chose to ignore the faults of the villain. Jane looked up at Thor and said angrily, you promised to come back to me, do you know how long I have been waiting? I'm sorry, peace in the 9 realms requires me. But my father has promised to let me stay on Earth for a while. I can finally spend more time with you, Jane. Thor showed a happy expression. Do you think I'm rare? Tony and Rod were sitting behind the table watching the show, and they were so focused. Rhodes whispered, do you feel like a boy or girl in high school? Usually just a kiss can solve the problem at this time. Tony commented very experiencedly. Thor seemed to have heard Tony's move and kissed him directly. Rhodes laughed when he saw this, it's like 2 seals grabbing grapes. Soon 2 pairs of vicious eyes looked over, and Rhodes wisely shut up, pretending that nothing happened just now, and looked at Tony. Tony also looked at Rhodes and said that it had nothing to do with him. It's just that it's not good for the 2 men's reputations to stare at each other like this for a long time. They always feel that they are in love with each other. Rhodes asked, I haven't seen the big green guy for a while. Dr. Banner has never been back since he was deceived by Levi to study yoga in India. Oh, you know, Dr. Banner hates people lying to him. Toes Hong chatted with Rhodes with a serious look. India, yoga. Rhodes couldn't imagine what it would be like for a man in his late 50s with a protruding belly to go to India to practice yoga. I guess there will be a lot of red spots on my forehead when I come back. Thor pulled Jane away from here, saying that he didn't want to talk to fools. After the embarrassing male and female duo left, Tony and Rhodes finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, there was a knock on the door. The 3 of them looked back and saw an old man wearing pizza delivery clothes and sunglasses standing outside the door holding a pizza. Who is, Tony? Big shit, the old man asked, looking at the people in the room. Rhodes nodded excitedly, pointed at Tony and said, yes, he is here. Right here. He is Tony, a big piece of shit. He is a piece of shit. Tony shook his head helplessly, oh, no. I really don't know how to get the name. The old man turned away in disgust and handed the pizza to Levi. Levi subconsciously took the pizza, and the old man came up with his hand, patted his shoulder and praised, the young man is very strong. After the old man left, Rhodes said, remember this joke, big shit, I don't know when it will appear again in the future. I will definitely change the color of your war machine. Oh ho ho, I have already obtained your paint from the Air Force Command. Damn it, when did those guys become so generous? Levi was not listening to the conversation between the 2, but was looking at the door. The old man just now looked like his old master when he was training in the martial arts gym. Twins? Levi muttered quietly. Rhodes came over to get the pizza, and when he heard Levi's whisper, he showed a look that every man could understand. What's wrong with the twins? The twins are really good. They have the same mind and are crawling on you together, just like. Tony grabbed Rhodes and said quickly, don't teach bad children, at the same time. In a certain space, the dark elves who had disappeared for a long time woke up when TIE particles came back. I sensed that TIE particles are in Midgard. All cursed warriors and soldiers set out for Midgard. You are the cursed warriors I created using fragments of TIE particles. When you arrive in Midgard, you will naturally perceive TIE particles. Exact location. The cursed warrior was silent for a while, then asked, Chief, how should we get to Midgard? The leader of the Dark Elves, Malekith, was speechless for a moment. The passage between the 9 kingdoms had long been blocked by the old guys of the Aesir clan. If you want to go to Midgard, you can only wait until the 9 kingdoms are connected in a line. At that time, the boundaries between the 9 realms are the weakest. But when the celestial bodies gather, it is also the best time to use TIE particles to turn the 9 realms into darkness. This little time is simply not enough. Go and find it. There must be passages to other countries in Wat Alhaim. When Malekith spoke, his men had to listen even if they didn't want to, so they could only search patiently. Let's not talk about the Dark Elves looking for a passage for the time being. Levi also knew that the Dark Elves would not let Reality Gem go, so he simply called some Avengers and told them about the Dark Elves. Thor only heard about the Dark Elves. Dark Elves can be roughly divided into captains, soldiers and necromancers according to their ability levels. There are also cursed warriors outside the ranks. They are the strongest warriors of the Dark Elves, but don't worry. The cursed warriors have long been killed by my grandfather Bor destroyed. Levi knew that it was impossible to know anything else about the Dark Elves from Thor. Jane is still waiting for me. If something happens, come back to me for love. Seeing that Thor was about to leave, Levi could only give a hint. There is also information about the gathering of celestial bodies and the connection of the 9 kingdoms. Mo Jian Zhao, oh, yes, there is another thing. Thor continued to explain, at that time, the boundaries between the 9 realms will become blurred, and you may fly from Midgard to Helheim. While walking, I fell from Jotunheim into Wat-Alheim. At this time, Jane walked into the conference room, holding an instrument and said, I think I have a better say in this matter. Tony was quite skeptical about the data presented by a young girl who didn't even get a PhD. So I did it myself and finally found some accurate data based on the various spatial data of the instrument in Jian's hand. Just with these data, nothing can be determined, and the enemy's invasion can only be left alone. Li Wei only remembered that the battlefield should be in London, but the more specific location was not clear. Tony would never let go of a potential threat, so he directly asked Levi to open a space door and prepare to take the people and equipment to station in London. Chapter 83. The British government did not welcome the Avengers who had just eliminated vampires in London. Instead, they scoffed at the warnings sent by the Avengers. What kind of dark elf invasion? It's just fart. As for the vampire race, the British government regards them as property. Vampires have obvious weaknesses and it is easy to deal with them. They didn't notice at all that the vampire power had already undergone earth-shaking changes. The British government is analyzing the secret of their longevity, but now that a large number of experimental materials have been destroyed, the government can only suffer a loss. After all, vampires are the opposite race of humans, and they feed on human blood. The Avengers Alliance holds great righteousness, and if the British government dares to declare it, it is pushing itself against humanity. Thor, Jane, Rhodes, and Winter Soldier took the Quinjet to London together. It is worth mentioning that the plane was still piloted by an old friend, Phil Coulson. Tony and Levi went first, and the portal reached London directly. As for the people on the plane, they also have to go to India to pick up a teammate. It is Dr. Banner who practices yoga with a long-legged Indian beauty coach. Rhodes and others stood outside the large glass display window, looking at the banners in the room and the beautiful women making body movements, stretching, kicking, crawling, and sticking their butts. For a moment, everyone couldn't bear to disturb them. If Liu Wei were asked to open the door to find Banner, they really wouldn't be able to see such a wonderful scene. Click. Jane took out her mobile phone and secretly took pictures. A few minutes later, Banner finally felt that someone was looking at him. He turned around and saw a group of teammates in unison. They quickly reached out and greeted him. Banner opened the glass door of the room. His face was red and his eyes were full of embarrassment, but he still showed a friendly smile. Hi, everyone, why are you here? We regret coming here, Dr. Banner. Rhodes joked. Then Rhodes pointed at the beautiful woman inside and said, the actions you made, well, it's very special, especially when you touch her there like a crazy person. Banner suddenly wanted Hulk to come out. Hulk was shameless anyway. Winter Soldier stopped a few people and said, okay, stop teasing Dr. N.A. Then he told the reason, and Banner's eyes gradually became serious. In the end, Banner could only say goodbye to the Indian beauty, and left on the Quinjet with Rhodes and others. A few days later, the group landed near a mansion outside London. This mansion is also Tony's property, covering thousands of acres. Although it is in the suburbs, it is not easy to buy. A lot of equipment was moved from Quinjet. With the help of Dr. Banner this time, Tony's work became much easier. While Tony was assembling the equipment, Captain America made a video call. Hey, friends, why don't you call me if you have an event? Do you know how hard I've been lately? Steve's handsome face looked a little haggard. The president is really not something ordinary people can do. He still prefers the days of Avengers Alliance. Tony asked evasively, how is living in the White House? It's not that good. I work when I wake up and have too little time to rest. It seems like I have returned to the days when I was treated like a joker by the troops. Didn't Nick Fury arrange for a beautiful woman to help you? You mean Sharon? Steve said with a helpless smile, Sharon doesn't help me, she supervises my work. But it's you who brought vampires to England recently. Dr. Banner complained directly. Yes, this is the reason. The British government comes to drive us away every now and then. Those fake gentlemen always do some shameful things behind the scenes. Levi said disdainfully. I heard that the British government has been studying vampires for nearly half a century. Steve gave the information he got from the CIA. Tony also sneered disdainfully. If they haven't researched anything in half a century, they should just go to bed. There have been people coming from the British government recently, and he has lost his patience with them. Recently, many members of Congress have made suggestions to restrict superheroes and register left and right superheroes for easier management. I have rejected this suggestion. Come on, friends. Steve gave everyone reassurance. Tony in the original timeline might have supported the congressman's proposal, but now he scorns such a proposal. Steve hung up the phone, and Tony and Dr. Banner continued to work. Assembling the equipment was progressing very quickly. A few days later, Banner and Tony finally accurately calculated the celestial convergence time. 2 days later, at 3:15 p.m., the celestial bodies will converge into a line, then space will be completely chaotic. Maybe the long-circulated ghost ship, Bermuda, and other supernatural events are also related to this. The largest space-time disruption will be in Greenwich, London, where the other party is most likely to invade the Earth. If aliens invade again, will it be London's turn to suffer? Banner suddenly felt sorry for the city. How about we go over there and fight? Thor said that he had defeated them, that is, he was defeated, and he was not afraid of no matter how many people came from the other side. Tony looked at Thor like he was a fool and said, then what do you think the point of us having so many arrangements is? When Thor saw the look in Tony's eyes, he immediately lost his temper and immediately said, Thor is very happy that you can talk to Thor, but the look in your eyes makes Thor dislike it very much. Uncle Thor, how about you go to the other side and fight, and then retreat when you can't block it? Tony and Rhodes deeply agreed with Levi's suggestion, and Phil Coulson expressed support. After all, Thor is the son of Odin, the dignified Thor. Thor paused and said that he was claustrophobic and was afraid of old people like Malekith turning off the lights. Everyone is disdainful. It turns out that the son of Odin also has moments of cowardice. Definitely this is just a joke, definitely not letting Thor face the enemy army alone. Tony said with some worry, if calculated based on the scale of the New York battle, I'm afraid we don't have enough manpower now. London should suffer a lot of losses, and if the government doesn't act, people will also be injured. There are only 2 or 3 big cats and kittens in the Dark Elves now, and there are not many people at all. Let me tell you, 5,000 years ago. Thor described his grandfather Bor's war against the Dark Elves. He talked about it like a compliment. Rhodes wondered, Dark Elves haven't given birth to children for 5,000 years. How about Levi go find the Sorcerer Supreme for help? Tony thought of a solution. Since the enemy's power is unknown, why not hire a helper with the same unknown power? Levi also thought he could give it a try. Anyway, Sorcerer Supreme didn't have anything important to do right now, so he was just waiting for Strange to pass. P.S. Tips will be added. Thank you again. Another October comes as promised. Chapter 84. With this kind of alien invasion war, it is natural for the Avengers Alliance to have all members return to the team. Hawkeye and Black Widow hurriedly returned to the team one day, and even the Flying Fish and the Octopus Orphe Enoch were called over by Tony. As for Happy, Tony asked him to protect Pepper out of selfish reasons. At this time, there could be no fire in the backyard. After all, there were potential enemies in New York. Greenwich was also deployed by Tony with many high-tech weapons and even time bombs. The crowd has been evacuated, and the British government can't support it this time even if it doesn't want to. After all, it's an alien invasion happening on its doorstep. Even the Security Council has ordered the British government to take action. Don't just surrender like France. Last time it was New York, this time it is London. The British government does not want to repeat the tragic situation in New York and London. They cannot afford to lose a city. The British government army sent fighter jets and a large number of special forces as backup, standing firmly behind the Avengers. They must participate in this defense battle. As time went by, the values on the instrument soon reached their peak, and even the sky was shrouded in shadow. After a burst of lightning and thunder, a huge alien warship emerged out of thin air. The battleships were dark, like axes, and one by one they jumped out of thin air. Where's the Sorcerer Supreme? Tony looked at Levi. Levi stretched out his hand and pointed to the square not far away. Everyone looked in the direction pointed and saw a bald head appearing in the chaotic square. He spent a lot of effort to invite the Ancient One out. Ancient One stretched out his hand, and the space near the square seemed to be spread rapidly by honeycomb-like diamond-shaped glass. The Dark Elf warships simply cannot escape the shroud of the mirror space. As the space closes, the mirror space is connected to the chaotic location. The warships that emerge can only move in the mirror space, and physical attacks cannot destroy the mirror space at all. Everyone in the Avengers Alliance is also shrouded in the mirror space. It feels like the 300 Spartans. Rhodes closed his mask. Tony watched the enemy's spaceship land, and a strong black-skinned soldier stepped out of it, then closed his mask. So. At this moment, Tony suddenly missed Captain America. Perhaps only Captain America could shout that soul-shaking slogan. Avengers, attack! Tony wanted to shout powerfully, but his momentum was obviously not enough. For the glory of the gods! Thor shouted, swinging his hammer and flying towards the crowd of enemies. Okay, he will shout the slogan from now on. Tony immediately started the thruster. Phil Coulson, Black Widow and Hawkeye transformed into Leo Cavalry one after another, following Tony. Dr. Banner's skin gradually turns green and then transforms into Hulk. Hulk roared and then jumped up without any slowness at all. He passed the Leo Cavalry and followed Thor closely. Levi rides a jet skier, and Winter Soldier stands on the jet skier's engine and shoots at the Dark Elves with a machine gun. The Dark Elves are also very powerful. The Cursed Warrior, who is about 2 meters tall, takes the lead in charging. His strong body is not weaker than Hulk. Even 2 Cursed Warriors entangled Hulk and fought back and forth with Hulk. After being punched, Hulk became more and more angry. He slapped his hand hard, and the warm air wave even sent 2 Cursed Warriors flying. The Dark Elf soldiers following the Cursed Warriors are all well equipped, including alien technology rifles, special armor, and black hole grenades. It's just that black hole grenades are not standard equipment, only certain Dark Elves are equipped with them. Ordinary weapons such as the Winter Soldier's heavy machine gun are ineffective against Dark Elf soldiers, as their armor can withstand bullets. The Winter Soldier jumped out of Levi's jet skier and punched a Dark Elf soldier with his iron arm. Hawkeye's bow and arrow kept pulling, and each time a photon energy arrow was generated and shot out. The photon energy arrow was beyond the defense of these Dark Elf soldiers, and their armor was easily shot through. Boom! Thunder surged, and the electric current trembled. Thor hit the ground with his hammer, and a thunder burst instantly, knocking all the surrounding Dark Elf soldiers away. They fell to the ground and could not get up again. Tony's battlesuit this time is a special battlesuit with a height of 2.5 meters. It is specially used to resist alien invasion. It was transformed from Odin's destroyer, although it is not as powerful as the destroyer's attack. But it is more flexible and easier to operate. When the heat laser is turned on, a patch of Dark Elves can be reduced to ashes in an instant. Only the Cursed Warrior can hold on a little longer. Please give me flowers. The battlesuit on Tony's back opened, and 2 missiles were launched. In the air, the 2 missiles decomposed into countless small bombs and scattered. Boom! 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 The Dark Elf soldiers were knocked back by the powerful impact of the explosion, causing a large number of casualties. The Dark Elves were also attacking, and even used black hole grenades to swallow up the buildings in the mirror space. Even the ground was sucked into the black hole and turned into a very standard semicircular pit. Levi fired all the jet slider's missiles. He didn't care about the casualties caused, but jumped out of the jet skier, locked a Cursed Warrior in the air, and launched a triangular cone. Hammer of Fallen Angel. As Levi jumped into the triangular cone spun and pierced the Cursed Warrior's body. Zero Levi appeared behind the opponent and exhaled the projection to transform the knight. As the belt changed, Levi inserted the card box in his hand into the belt and transformed into a Dragon Rider. Levi pulled a card out of the card box and inserted it into the Dragon Summoner on his arm. Advent. A red oriental dragon circled down from the sky. The dragon was crimson. The dragon crimson breathed fire at a Dark Elf soldier who attacked it, and the hot flames set the soldier on fire. Along with the sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling, Levi drew another card and inserted it into the Dragon Summoner. Sword Vent. When Long Crimson turned around, he threw out a weapon. Leeway stretched out his hand to catch it, holding the sword at his waist. Wielding the dragon saber, Levi joined the battle group, harvesting the lives of the Dark Elf soldiers with every blow. The Cursed Warrior felt the strong aura of Ti particles on Levi's body and gave up. Phil Coulson rushed towards Levi. Look out! Levi! Phil Coulson yelled. Upon seeing this, Levi inserted the final arrival card, and slowly rose into the sky with the Dragon Crimson. The Dragon Crimson breathed out the flames condensed in his mouth, and Levi used the huge amounts of impact to kick towards the opponent. Flame wrapped around. The cursed warrior was instantly kicked out by this kick and exploded in the air. Many cursed warriors have sensed the existence of TIE particles, and they have never been timid even if their comrades died. Malekith even walked off the main ship and only listened to his order, bring back TIE particles. Justice. Chapter 85. The leader's majestic voice made the cursed warriors turn their attention to Levi. You come too. Levi looked directly at Malekith, and the Dragon Crimson went straight to Malekith from the air to kill him. Malekith's eyes were locked on the belt on Levi's waist, and he could accurately sense the breath of TIE particles inside. Raising his eyes slightly, Malekith stretched out his hand, and a black-red light surged out, covering the Dragon Crimson. The Dragon Crimson stopped in mid-air, as if frozen, and then turned into parts one by one. Levi couldn't care about Dragon Crimson anymore. The cursed warrior closest to him had already charged towards him. Levi aimed his knife at his neck and slashed at him. Bah! The dragon saber only scratched a spark on his skin. Levi didn't stop his movements, but he punched Zeng Zeng, who opened his mouth and exposed his fangs. Bang! The cursed warrior punched into the sky, and Chi's heavy body fell to the ground, knocking down a large number of Dark Elf soldiers. Levi grabbed the nearest Dark Elf soldier and pulled it hard, knocking him down with his shoulder. A strong wind came from behind, and he turned around and kicked the Dark Elf soldier away. At this time, a large number of cursed warriors were pressing towards Levi, and everyone in the Avengers Alliance was also approaching Levi. Phil Coulson also used a night kick to kick a cursed warrior away. Hawkeye's bullets are perfect, every arrow hits the enemy, and even kills two birds with one stone. Black Widow wanders in the center of the enemy, equipped with a small time bomb installed on the enemy, and detonates directly after moving away. The pistol in her hand, which was converted into ammunition through photon blood, never stopped. The Winter Soldier replaced the rifle with a rifle modified from the Thor's weapon. This alien technology rifle is not weak and can penetrate the armor of the Dark Elf soldiers in a few rounds. It's a pity that this weapon Tony is not in mass production. The cursed warrior caught the hammer that Thor grabbed, and then threw Mjolnir hard. Thor looked shocked and was knocked down by a punch. Tony fired a thermal light cannon from the sky, piercing the cursed warrior and rescuing Thor. Khazar, go! Malekith gave the order with a scarlet light on his hand, and a giant dark elf about 3 or 4 meters tall rushed out from the main ship. The huge dark elf took heavy steps, and every foot made the earth shake slightly. Hulk, go help Levi stop him! Tony shouted. Hulk, attack! The Hulk shook off the 2 soldiers, jumped up high, and clasped his hands together. Hit the huge dark elf on the head with his huge fist. Bang! The giant cursed warrior only tilted his head slightly after being hit hard, and punched the still stunned Hulk. This punch made Hulk retreat repeatedly. The giant cursed warrior did not fight with Hulk, but rushed towards Levi, like a wild bull, even his own people were knocked away by it. I'm going to be a matador. Levi threw the dragon saber out. Are you scared? Thor stood behind Levi, and he was both right and wrong. I have a phobia of giant objects. Thor wondered, what kind of disease is that? It sounds like symptoms only for cowards. 1. I'm afraid of Dasha X. What? Thor didn't feel at all that Levi had jumped up behind him, and a huge force came from behind. The giant cursed warrior knocked Thor away. Levi turned 360 in the air, pulled out a card from the card box and inserted it into the dragon summoner. Then the dragon summoner suddenly changed. Revive. Survival form. The card was inserted to summon the dragon blade, fire wrapped around the sword, and Chenwei slashed at the head of the giant dark elf. Bang! Flames exploded from the head of the giant dark elf, and his body staggered. Hulk is also afraid of Dasha X. Hulk clenched his fists, jumped over and hit the giant cursed warrior on the head. When? There was a muffled sound. What sounds good is a good start. Li Wei stood up straight, his back facing the giant cursed warrior, and the dragoons had been summoned. This time it's a stronger night kick. The dragoon spits out flames, and Levi's whole body is bathed in flames. The flames are concentrated on his feet, and the flame energy pours out with the flying kick. The giant dark elf finally fell to the ground, with a blackened footprint on its back. At this time, thunder sounded from the sky, Thor's eyes were filled with lightning, and his body was wrapped with lightning. Mjolnir hammered the huge cursed warrior into the pit. Tony supported from the air, and the thermal light cannon poured into the pit, and the roar of the huge cursed warrior was heard. I think I also have a phobia of giant objects, Thor said, standing next to Levi. Levi smiled and said, "This is a symptom only for cowards. That coward must be Loki. I think your brother must love you more as an older brother." Thor, I need to recharge now. The destroyer battlesuit consumes too much energy. Tony landed, and his current energy could not last until the end of the battle. Fortunately, there is Thor as a power bank, otherwise Tony would not want to bring out the destroyer battlesuit. Thor lifted Mjolnir, and a thunderbolt flashed across the sky and struck Tony directly. The J.A.R.V.I.S beep came, and Tony's energy increased to 330%. Be careful to dodge, I'm going to attack in a group. Levi took out a card and inserted it into the Dragon Summoner 2, with the sound effect, shoot vent. The dragoon spit out ultra-high temperature flames, and the remaining dark elf soldiers were instantly ignited and burned to ashes. Malekith's hands glowed red, wrapping the oncoming flames, and then the flames turned into particles and shattered. The real master is out. The Avengers gathered and faced Malekith. Thor said forcefully, "Give him some color and see." Malekith took off his mask and saw a look of disdain on his pale face. He sneered and said, "If it were your grandfather Baal, I might still give him some face." Thor said disdainfully, "I thought all dark elves were the same as S.H.I.E.L.ds black braised eggs." The old man let you know that Asgard's 0.7 Thor has a heroic appearance that no one before him has. Thor swung his hammer and used the hammer to fly towards Malekith. Then Thor was knocked back. Rhodes murmured. Everyone looked up at the direction where Thor was thrown away by Malekith. Okay, maybe Asgard's Thor is more handsome when he is beaten away. Levi shrugged helplessly. As the leader of the Dark Elves, Malekith also knows some magic. In addition, he has controlled TIE particles for a long time, and originally also had a certain ability of TIE particles, so you should try to be careful. If Malekith takes back TIE particles, the enemy you just eliminated will also be resurrected by him. Ancient One said, standing behind everyone. As long as you maintain the mirror space, we can deal with him. Li Wei was quite confident, after all, he didn't reveal a trump card. Chapter 86. Facing the flying bullets and thermal light cannons, Malekith's body suddenly turned into a thick mist, attacking everyone quickly. The main target of this attack is naturally Levi, who holds the reality gem. Levi switches transformations and ends with the loud change. Now, turning into a golden magician. Wearing the magician ring, he raised his hand to summon the magic circle, and a rainbow-colored tornado headed towards the mist that instantly enveloped Malekith. This also forced Malekith to transform back into human form in heaven. A living target, Rhodes said, and all weapons on his body were opened. The war mecha fired all its missiles at the living target in the sky, and the bullets shot out at a desperate angle. The palm cannon even overloaded and condensed, beating the drowned dog hard and giving the opponent a hard blow. Boom! The sound of explosions is endless, and the fire is everywhere. However, Rhodes was soon dumbfounded, because the flames in the sky turned into butterflies and scattered away. Malekith was safe and sound, his hands drawing scarlet energy towards the people below. The others ducked for cover, and for a moment only Levi was left standing motionless. These two red energy light bombs have tracking capabilities. Instead of moving around looking for opportunities to dodge, it is better to destroy them directly. The black cloak behind him was swung, and Levi attached the magic shield to the cloak. The red energy bomb hit the cloak and exploded instantly. Malekith was extremely fast, and his figure flashed continuously, making it impossible to find his location. Just when he was about to bully Levi, his body suddenly transformed into a ferocious giant octopus and opened its bloody mouth. In Levi's sight, the giant octopus opened its bloody mouth and bit at him. Its sharp teeth had 3 layers inside and 3 outside, covering the entire mouth. It looked extremely scary. Hey! Levi snorted coldly, his body shook, and the magic power around him surged. Several small magic arrays suddenly unfolded, and lightning tilted in the center of the magic array. The giant octopus shattered, and Malekith flew out upside down. Boring illusion, Levi said disdainfully. Thor seized the opportunity, swung out his hammer, and hit Malekith's head. Bang! Malekith spat out a mouthful of acidic water, and his whole body was sent flying higher. Tony appeared in the sky, parallel to Malekith's trajectory from above, and the heat energy light was released. Malekith's body is like ice cream baking on the flames, he is melting. No. This guy can fly. Tony, be careful. Levi noticed that Malekith in the sky was also formed by illusion, and Malekith's real target was either himself or an eye in the sky. Sure enough, Levi's guess was correct. A small cloud of fog appeared behind Tony, and the fog instantly spread and turned into Malekith. Malekith patted Tony's back with one hand, and a burst of red light emerged from the gaps between the various parts of Tony's battlesuit. Suddenly the battlesuit disintegrated and Tony fell from the sky. Hulk! Quick! Phil Coulson yelled. Hulk jumped up, caught Tony, who was waving his hands wildly in the air, and tucked him under his arm, then landed safely. Hulk, how long has it been since you took a shower? Tony blushed and felt like he had something in his mouth. Then he spit out wow and Tony knelt on the ground, unable to get up again. Malekith easily solved Tony, and no one else expected to be able to solve Tony like this. It's true that without the battlesuit, he has no fighting ability. The parts of the destroyer battlesuit were scattered on the floor, and Tony was hit hard by the smell of Hulk's armpits, and he couldn't help himself for a moment. Levi's figure had disappeared at the moment. Malekith felt something in his heart and was about to escape when he heard an explosion. I saw a small, compressed subspace black ball appear behind Malekith. The black ball detonated, and the powerful impact caused Malekith to be blown away like a cannonball. His eyes were bulging, it looked like it. Hyperthyroidism. Levi directly followed the trajectory of Malekith flying backwards and opened a space door. Malekith entered the space door and returned to Levi. Thunder, ice, storm, flame. The four elements violently invaded Malekith. Phil Coulson, Clint, Natasha Romanoff. Levi shouted their names. The three of them looked at each other and quickly understood what Leeway meant. They all took out the Leo cursors made by Tony and wore them on their calves. As the three people kicked, the cursor was launched, and the three people entered the brown cone of the cursor, spinning rapidly. Malekith releases a large number of TIE particle fragments, which are stored in his body. With the release of a large number of TIE particle fragments, a barrier is formed, blocking the three people's Leo electric drills. Levi put on a ring and placed it in front of the hand-shaped buckle of his belt. Final strike! Final strike! The golden magic power generated in the magic circle under his feet was concentrated on his left foot. Levi jumped up, jumped into the sky and fell rapidly. Bang! One, the protective layer formed by TIE particles was shattered by the knight's kick. Malekith's eyes widened. He originally cherished words like gold and would not open his mouth even when he was beaten. This time, he finally said with a look of disbelief, "How is that possible? Kamen Rider, nothing is impossible." 3 magic arrays were deployed in front of Levi, and a large amount of magic power was injected to ensure that the magic array would not dissipate in a short time. The 3 magic arrays come from the Book of Emperor Weixin and are used to enhance one's own strength, speed, and hardness. Magic power accumulated in his hands, the golden magic array unfolded, and the death halberd popped out of the magic array. Levi held the death halberd and quickly raised his hand. The death halberd passed through 793 3 magic arrays. The speed increased and the power became stronger. He raised the knife in his hand. Fall few. A head flew from Malekith's neck. But Levi didn't even raise his eyes, looking straight ahead of him not far away. At that location, the space was a little distorted. Then the body of Malekith in front of him fell to the ground, turning into red particles and dissipating. Where Levi was staring, Malekith transformed from a shadow state into an entity. Malekith's expression was unusually solemn, his pale face was flushed, his chest was heaving, and he looked very tired. The remaining TIE particle fragments in his body had been consumed. This guy is really more cunning than Loki. Thor looked at Malekith and had a headache. He could play with everyone on his side by himself. The sky has completely darkened. It is now the time when the celestial bodies converge. The whole world seems to be enveloped in darkness. Throwing away the death halberd, Levi replaced it with the ring of creation with a rainbow tornado engraved on the gemstone. As he placed it in front of the hand-shaped buckle of his belt, the energy of the reality gem overflowed from the belt. This ring can invoke some of the reality gem's abilities. The ring of creation can reshape the world according to the user's ideas. Reality gem turns all illusions into real reality. God said, "Let there be light." After the words fell, in the dark environment, there was an unexpected sound of snapping fingers. Chapter 87. A buzzing sound emitted from Levi's position, releasing light centered on the ring of creation in Levi's hand. The light spread and drove away the darkness. Malekith was originally smiling ferociously. With the 9 realms connected, he could summon more troops, but at the moment he couldn't laugh anymore. The unity of the 9 realms has ended, and the barriers between the 9 realms have gradually become stronger. It's his death now. Levi aimed at Malekith and released a rainbow-colored tornado. This time, the tornado rotated at a speed of hundreds of kilometers per hour. Malekith was sucked into the rainbow-colored tornado, and his whole body was instantly reduced to debris. Others only realized that it was dark and light again, and the tornado swept away the enemy. The battle is over. The only thing here that is not affected is the Supreme City. Even when the earth is shrouded in darkness, Supreme City can see everything clearly. What happened? Rhodes asked in confusion. The sky darkened and the alien leukemia patient died. Maybe he's really dead. Tony was also unsure. He can't die anymore. His body should be found over there. After speaking, Levi said respectfully to the Ancient One, "The incident is over, thank you for your help." The Ancient One waved his hand to remove the mirror image, then opened a space door and returned directly to Camartage. Returning to normal space, everyone in the Avengers Alliance saw British soldiers waiting for the results of the battle. A British general came over and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief after understanding the situation. At the same time, he saw an alien warship not far away, showing greed. But obviously these battleships will not be handed over only to the United Kingdom, so the corpses of these dark elves and alien battleships are directly distributed to various countries, and the research results obtained by everyone's joint research should be used as international technology. Tony's idea was naturally supported by the Security Council, and the matter was quickly completed. In the end, there was only one battleship left in the Avengers Alliance building, and some of the bodies of the Dark Elves were taken away by SHIELD. The technology developed will be shared with Stark Industries. Only the British government was as disgusting as eating shit. Although their territory was not destroyed, they did not get much spoils. They really could not withstand the pressure from all countries. Just a few days after the Dark Elf invasion ended, Thor, who originally wanted to continue to care for each other with Jane, was called back by Odin, and Levi also left with him. "I just want to find Odin to recharge my batteries. It would be much easier if Kamen Rider Odin's ability is still there when facing Malekith." Tony and Pepper continued to live their lives without shame, not knowing whether their child would be born early. Rod continued to work in his own department, and also took a few days off for himself. He went to the Maldives to rest for a few days, and rinsed his mouth with 1982 Law Fight. It is worth mentioning that Avengers Alliance has added a new teammate, who was personally recommended by Captain America, codenamed Falcon. Falcon's ability is not very strong, mainly because the battlesuit is a bit special, but Tony doesn't like the technology of Falcon's battlesuit. Falcon often teams up with Winter Soldier on missions recently. Dr. Banner returns to the team this time and will not go to other places in the short term, such as picking up girls and practicing yoga at the same time. Phil Coulson and Hawkeye return to S.H.I.E.L.D. to continue their work. In the Avengers Alliance, only Black Widow and the honest Dr. Banner were still working, while all the main team members were resting. Nick Fury wanted to call Black Widow back to SHIELD, but she was detained by Tony to deal with Avengers Alliance miscellaneous matters. Build a Bifrost to follow Thor back to Asgard. What caught his eye was Heimdall's black face. After briefly greeting him, Levi followed Thor to the most eye-catching triangular-shaped palace of the God King. The architecture of Asgard is splendid, and a peaceful atmosphere surrounds this land. All Asgardians who see Thor say a friendly hello to him. Thor also responded. It can be seen that he is very popular with the people. Levi, who returned to Asgard with Thor, was summoned by Odin. Odin looked like he had been friends with him for a long time. He didn't talk about anything else but eating and drinking first. After drinking too much for Levi, he kept silent about recharging his batteries. Odin naturally wouldn't leave Asgard if he didn't give Levi a hand. He kept Thor and his good brothers drinking all day long, and even went to the prison to flirt with Loki. This lasted for a whole week, and Odin finally couldn't help but go to Levi personally and said, "Boy, I think you have a lot of things to do, and you can't waste time all day long. For example, To enhance your own strength or something. Levi catered to him. Odin looked like a young man who was very interested and agreed, that's right, so I decided to sponsor you with some of Odin's power. Levi suddenly smiled and said, actually, I really want to see all kinds of people and things in the universe and explore the beauty and unknowns of life. A restless person like me will definitely not waste too much time drinking. Up. A ball of blue-white energy condensed on Odin's hand. Levi revealed his belt, the blue-white energy flew into the drive, the projection turned on, and Kamen Rider Odin's head reappeared. Levi looked up at Odin, and Odin looked at Levi. After looking at each other like this for a long time, Lee issued an order to expel the guest, you can leave. I don't think you heard me clearly. What? I want to explore the end of life. So. There must be a spaceship for me to go out on the water. Odin. I always feel ripped off. At this time, Thor saw Levi and Odin standing over there, and walked over, greeting him enthusiastically, Father, what are you talking about to Levi? Levi, let's go and drink. I just said that the story you told yesterday was very interesting. Odin sighed. This stupid son didn't know how to help him. All his belongings were extorted by others. Okay, isn't there a saying on your earth, send Buddha to the west? Odin agreed, since there was only one spaceship left and right anyway. Levi then turned back to Thor and said, then I have to work harder to finish the story today. Tomorrow I want to explore the universe. Do you want to go? Exploring the universe? Are you leaving? What does the universe mean? It's all the same. I'm embarrassed to bother you all the time. Odin, who was about to leave, suddenly sneered when he heard Levi say this. He cursed secretly in his heart, the little fox, Zhao Li's, is a raccoon spirit. Gathering Odin's wool naturally has no psychological burden. When we were in New Mexico, who would have thought that the power Odin gave us was a one-time thing? This old guy was dishonest, and the money he could get from him was nothing. After several days of study, Levi learned to fly the spacecraft. Finally, under the eyes of Thor, Sif, and the 3 Asgard warriors, Levi started the spacecraft, and as the spacecraft rose precariously, it flew away into the distance. Is it okay for him to fly the spaceship like this? The 3 Asgard warriors felt sorry for Asgard's property. It doesn't matter, he often rides a 2-wheeled bicycle on Earth. Thor was a little reluctant to leave his comrades. After all, there were not many people who could eat and drink with him every day. Isn't that called a motorcycle? Sif whistled, and a black and green motorcycle drove over. The 2-rider motorcycle, the tough guy number, was the one Levi lost to Sif when drinking. Who would have thought that Sif, an old maid, would be the best drinker among Thor and the others? Chapter 88. Pressing the push rod, the spacecraft emits a special light to open the wormhole, and Levi directly drives the spacecraft into it. Returning to the solar system, looking at the scorching sun in the distance, Levi flew towards other planets without hesitation. I never had the chance before, but now I definitely want to go around the planets in the solar system first. Anyway, this spacecraft has protection and stabilizers, and with his magic, there is no fear of the spacecraft losing control even if it gets into the eye of Jupiter. This spaceship was not made by Asgard, but was a trophy that had been stored in an open area specially designed for docking spaceships. When Levi boarded the ship, there was already some dust inside the spacecraft. It must have been that no one had driven it for a long time. The first stop was the moon, and after observing a circle around the moon, Levi quickly discovered something special about it. In the blue zone on the moon, a complex of ancient buildings remain. It should be Adalan, the city of the Inhumans. There is a protective shield outside the building complex. If the spacecraft is not advanced enough, it may not be able to detect abnormalities. A hasty visit may scare the other party, but just a brief observation of Levi driving the spacecraft to the next planet. The environment of other planets is too harsh and no traces can be found at all. Until when passing by Uranus, the instruments on the spacecraft heard noise again. Levi drove the spacecraft through the planet ring of Uranus. Before entering the atmosphere, he saw a tower-shaped battleship like a hill suspended among some meteorites. Compared with this battleship, Levi's spaceship is like a chicken. The spaceship looked a little dilapidated. He approached the spacecraft and faced the hatch. Levi crossed the passage and transformed into Joker to explore the spacecraft for safety reasons. Bang! Kicking open the battleship's hatch, Levi strode in. It was dark inside the battleship, and it seemed that it had not been activated for a long time. There were some traces of battle and bloodstains inside the cabin. Opening the hatch, Levi entered the battleship. As soon as I walked in, the battleship's internal system seemed to detect someone entering, and the lights turned on automatically. The interior was a bit quaint, with the grey-blue metal walls making it even more depressing. Some of the facilities were a bit old and looked older than his little spaceship. Some cabin doors can be opened directly, but some room doors require a password to enter, and the door can only be broken open by force. Why is such a large warship abandoned here? Levi was thinking this in his mind, but the movement of his feet didn't stop at all. Bang! This time I finally saw some traces in the room I kicked open. Corpse. The corpse was displayed in a glass cover on the experimental table. There seemed to be a preservation function inside, and the corpse looked lifelike. These corpses looked just like humans in appearance and may be humans. 8 corpses were arranged in a straight line. At first glance, some people felt numb, as if they would come back to life at any time. Levi slowly began to investigate. There were no paper records here. They all relied on computer records. He finally started the computer here, but Levi didn't understand the text inside. But it can be judged from the logo that this is a Kree warship. With no choice, Levi could only look for the memory in the computer, but no one knew the accessories of this alien computer. In this case, we can only use a trick. At the moment, something happened on Earth. This involves Corvus Glaive, who was dispatched by Levi at the end of the Battle of New York. His weapon was broken off and collected and studied by SHIELD. However, it recently disappeared. What followed was the recent reappearance of Corvus Glaive, who attacked S.H.I.E.L.D's secret warehouse, causing a large amount of vibranium and other items to be lost in the warehouse. When the Avengers Alliance's support arrived, even though they met Corvus Glaive, the Avengers Alliance pursued him and fought against the Soundblade General several times, but he still ran away. Everyone back at the Avengers Alliance building met in the conference room to discuss how to target Corvus Glaive. This is definitely one of the 3 major troubles. Falcon said seriously. Winter Soldier was stunned for a moment and said in surprise, "What are the 3 major troubles?" Falcon said matter-of-factly, "Those are the 3 major troubles." What are the 3 major troubles? Winter Soldier was even more puzzled. You don't know this, it's robots, aliens and necromancers. Winter Soldier almost had my special method written on his face. There is no such thing. That's definitely true. Falcon said with certainty. No, not at all. We have been fighting back and forth, but we have never escaped these 3 major troubles. Falcon became even more confident. Tell me who the necromancer is, CGEF. Gandalf. Ah. Falcon was stunned for a moment, then said, "Do you still know Gandalf?" In 1937, when The Hobbit was first published, I read it at that time. Falcon didn't know how to answer for a while, and after a long time he said, "Okay, I'm well read. So, you should know what I mean. Where did the necromancer come from?" Camartage. I'm a magician. Ah, haha, it's a magician. It turns out. Falcon scratched his head, then smiled and said, "A magician is a necromancer without a hat. Think about it. Wow, that's so appropriate. I just thought of it. I'm too smart." Winter Soldier looks hopeless. He will team up with Phil Coulson in the future. He doesn't quite understand the thinking of young people. Rhodes couldn't help it anymore and said, "Magician is a melee fighter, you said necromancer is Bayou Bayou. No wonder Captain America asked you to go home and pick cotton when we first met." Tony wanted to prove to the robots that they were not a problem. Okay. Then the aliens must be right. Falcon glanced at Rhodes, wondering why it was Brother Hay himself who treated him so poorly. By the way, how old are you? Falcon turned to look at Winter Soldier. 97 years old. No wonder we have such a big generation gap. Winter Soldier. You guys are so boring. Black Widow sighed helplessly. Tony whistled and interrupted, "The little man you were talking about went to Asgard." However, at this moment, a space door opened. Look, he came back just as I said it. Bang! 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 A bunch of parts fell out. Levi. What is this? Tony looked at the head sticking out of the space door. Hey, friends. Hello. Hey, the newcomer finally has his place. Wait, that's my place. Levi greeted everyone, and then glared at Falcon. Falcon sat on his own stool. What are these? Tony asked. To make a long story short, it's a bit difficult to open a space gate so far away. These are alien computer parts. I'm too lazy to crack them, so I just packaged them and sent them back to you. Why not send a complete one? Rhodes couldn't help but have a headache looking at the parts all over the floor. They still need to be assembled. This is installed in a battleship. It can only be dismantled. Levi said goodbye directly. Okay, I'm going to travel around the universe, don't be too envious, goodbye. Why do you feel that your technology has improved so much all of a sudden? It's not like Earth's technology. Rhodes still had something to say, but Levi had retracted his head and the space door slowly closed. Just when everyone lowered their heads to look at the parts, Levi stuck his head out and added to Falcon, go home and pick cotton. Falcon yelled, hey! Levi retracted his head and the space door was completely closed. After walking around the solar system, Levi opened the wormhole again and prepared to go to other galaxies. He originally wanted to fly directly out of the solar system, but the Kuiper belt was a bit risky, and Levi didn't really want to fly through the wings. Chapter 89. Something interesting seems to have happened on Earth. Levi didn't think there would be any big trouble. Nowadays, Avengers Alliance members are almost all enhanced versions. If Tony is willing, it is not impossible for everyone to have a Leo Trooper 2 belt. It will be difficult for the remaining HYDRA guys to defeat the current Avengers Alliance. And when he left, Tony was already working on replicating the Delta belt. If it really succeeds, maybe he can create Caesar or FIs in the future. It should be enough to contact the Cosmic Spirit Ball. Levi accelerated towards the Shandiar star. Fortunately, there is a star map on the spaceship, otherwise it would be like a headless fly. The end of record spacecraft ahead, please stop immediately for inspection. This is Xandar Nova Corps, Team 36. A voice suddenly came from the general channel of the spacecraft. Levi looked to the outside world, and saw a blue and black spaceship with a V-shaped logo of 3 white dots and stars slowly approaching. This place is still quite far away from Xandar. I didn't expect that there would be Nova Corps patrolling so far away. The Nova Corps is the largest force on the Xandarian planet. They also have another name, the Xandarian Army Interstellar Corps. Levi stopped the spaceship. There was no need to offend the other party, just follow the rules. He just didn't know if the other party would give Asgard a face and allow him to enter Xandar smoothly. Soon, the 2 spaceships docked, and 2 members came from the Nova Corps spaceship. The appearance of these 2 members was the same as that of humans. A tight-fitting uniform with the same color and logo as the spaceship accentuated their muscles. Hello. Levi greeted with a smile. This smile was still very contagious and made people feel friendly. As a partner of justice for a long time, Original will also be tainted with some righteousness. Your spaceship is not recorded in the Nova Legion's system. Can you please provide proof of identity? The Nova Legion member spoke politely. I am from the Earth. This spaceship was given to me by Odin, the God King of Asgard. I am currently traveling among the stars, hoping to replenish supplies on Xandar. If the Earth's America's social security number can be used, it can be regarded as a proof of identity. The 2 members of the Nova Corps looked at each other, and then the taller and stronger member said, Earth happens to be within the sphere of influence of the Nova Corps, and Xandar has also received the Prince of Asgard. Can you please let us check the route of the spaceship? Levi made way and said with a smile, please do it. The cold-faced guy who was slightly shorter came over. After a while of his operations, he determined the route of the spacecraft and found no problems, so he nodded to the strong man. The strong man smiled and said, I wish you a happy time on Xandar. We will include your spacecraft code in the system, and you can just sail directly to Xandar. After the 2 Nova Corps members left, Levi continued to rush towards Xandar. A few hours later Levi entered the atmosphere of Xandar Star, and following some strange guidance signs, Levi landed at the port. There are already thousands of spaceships of various sizes parked here. If I had known better, I would have asked those 2 Nova Corps members what they need to pay attention to when they first come to Shanvar planet. Levi sighed and walked towards the bustling city directly opposite. At the same time, in a square on Xandar, a hollow metal sphere rolled on the ground. Looking at the position where the metal hollow sphere rolled over, a man who looked like an adult man from Earth was lying on the ground with a slender Hulk female relative. They were inseparable from each other with 1 kick and 1 punch. Whoa, whoa, whoa. A raccoon jumped out from the side, jumped on the green-skinned woman, clamped her neck with its 2 short legs, and kept hitting her head with both hands. Feeling the pain, he raised his hand and hit the little raccoon on the shoulder, knocking it off his body. Immediately afterwards, the man fighting with the green-skinned woman seized the opportunity and quickly moved away, picked up the metal ball from the ground and ran away. At this time, a tree man appeared behind the green-skinned woman, and the branches on its arms were wrapped around the opponent, intending to control it. The little raccoon quickly got up from the ground, picked up the gun on his back, and shot the man who was running away from Honey. Bah! Ah! The man was so shocked by the powerful electric current that he rolled his eyes and instantly lost his ability to escape. Get your reward, the little raccoon shouted triumphantly. I am Groot. The tree man also laughed. Before the two could be happy for too long, a small patrol boat from the Nova Corps appeared, and the tractor beam restrained the little raccoon and the tree man. Soon several members of the Nova Corps came down and arrested the troublemaking greenskins, earthlings, tree people, and little raccoons. Levi, who had just walked up the steps, was stunned when he saw the scene not far away. I'm late. The white guy over there should be Star-Lord, Green Gamera, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot. Levi looked at Star-Lord up and down, and the cosmic spirit ball was still in his hand. Please give me flowers. At the moment these 4 restless guys were still twisting and trying to be restrained. Levi rolled his eyes, looked around, picked up a broken floor tile from the ground and threw it over. Day! One of the Nova Corps members was shot in the head and fell down immediately. Enemy attack! Other members of the Nova Corps immediately pointed their guns at Levi, who immediately raised his hands and surrendered. Accident! Everyone, it was really an accident. Levi shouted, but his expression did not change at all and remained as usual. How could these members of the Nova Corps believe Levi and directly arrest Levi for serious crimes? On the spaceship, several people looked at each other, but their mouths were blocked by the ball of saliva, and they could only communicate with their eyes. They were taken into the Nova Corps headquarters, and soon the information of several people was searched out by the Nova Corps. Zero Gamera, the adopted daughter of the Mad Titan Thanos, was trained by Thanos to be a ruthless killing machine. Codenamed 89P13, claiming to be the product of illegal genetic experiments and mechanical experiments on rockets. Groot, ex-planet, descendant of the Flora Colossus tribe, Rocket Raccoon's thug. Peter Quill, an Earthling, was taken away by Yondu of the Predator Legion when he was a child and raised by him. Levi, new, an Earthling, calls himself a friend of Asgard, drives a spaceship donated by Asgard to travel across the planet, and comes to Xandar for supplies. Looking at the information retrieved, the general of the Nova Corps said impatiently, except for the last one, he is not a good person. Definitely, the last Earthling is not a good person either, and he actually attacked our members. All of them send me to jail. General, is there a possibility that he really did it unintentionally? Impossible. You still can't question me, medic. Okay, I blame the general. Several people were soon jailed. Levi was handcuffed and stuffed into the spacecraft. This time, Kyun Hao and the others, who had no verbal contact, were finally able to talk. They are going to a space prison outside the planet Xandar, which is full of various villains from the galaxy. They were searched in prison, and all the various items on their bodies were taken out. The cleanest pocket is Levi's, with only a strange-looking belt buckle in his pocket. Prison guards had no choice but to seal up the bizarre belt buckle. The cosmic spirit ball was not exposed, and Star-Lord and Gamera never mentioned it, pretending that nothing happened. Only Rocket Raccoon looked around with disdain. Chapter 90. I have escaped from prison 22 times, and there is nothing that can stop me here. Rocket Raccoon is very disdainful of this place. This kind of prison just has a bigger name. Wow, that sounds exciting. Levi was extremely curious about this short little raccoon. If I weren't afraid that he would turn around and bite me, I would really want to touch her. Putting on the prison uniform, the knife man followed him towards the blue zone. Are you from Earth? Star-Lord was not interested in other people and was only curious about Levi's identity. Can humans on Earth now travel through the universe? I haven't heard of it. Aren't you the same? Levi showed a harmless smile. Star-Lord was stunned for a moment, then stammered and asked, yes. Hey. I just haven't been back for a long time. How about Kevin Bacon's new movie now? That Hollywood movie star you know. The Underworld, which was released not long ago, is good, and the X-Men evil mutant Sebastian Shaw, which was released in 2011, is very exciting. 087 Evil. Star-Lord was startled, then raised his voice and said in disbelief, "You said he played the villain." Levi took it for granted, as an actor, it's normal to play any kind of role. Why are you still so shocked? How long has it been since you returned to Earth? Star-Lord calmed down and said sadly, "It's been a long time. It sounds like you can't help it. You should be able to return to Earth at any time." Levi glanced at Star-Lord without leaving a trace. "That's not true, it's just that there is an old stubborn man who doesn't want to go back to see him. If it's a relative, this kind of punishment is too much. You two fellows, I will have a lot of time for you to chat in the future, but now I'm afraid something unexpected happened among us." Rocket Raccoon interrupted the chat between the two. "I'm Groot." Star-Lord rolled his eyes. "Oh, okay, this is the 89th time I have said this." Everyone walked into the prison area. As soon as they entered, a group of prison thugs yelled and insulted the newcomers. "Look, these little popsicle-like people, I really want to hold them in my mouth." A man who was as fat as a ball and only about 1.6 meters tall smiled evilly. "Brother, if you don't look like a ball, I'm afraid I will look at you as a pervert. Hurry up and put your pink pants." Levi glared over without fear. Star-Lord also stared at the fish-headed F who just slapped his A. Gamera. "Damn you. Your life will be worse than death here. Damn Thanos. Gamera who can kill 1,000 swords. Ronan's lackey." Thanos' daughter became Ronan's dog. The one who was scolded the most was Gamera. The prisoners here wanted to eat her alive. However, after being scolded so harshly, it was Levi who suffered first. "The ones with thin skin and tender flesh are much better than those with hair. I'm going to throw you into the pool and wash you clean." The blue-skinned strong man stared at Levi with aggressive eyes, and his head looked like a long slit of bats. Levi glanced at the other person's hand and warned, "Before I get angry, I advise you to take your hands away." Ha 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 ha. The prisoners burst into laughter, as if they had heard some big joke. Bang! Bang! Cough! Soon, the laughter suddenly stopped. The big blue guy's head was dented, and his body fell down in a very weird posture. The body was twisted like a telephone pole that had been dented by a car. Levi put down his legs and just punched the opponent with 2 feet. Upon seeing this, Rocket Raccoon immediately declared to the surroundings with a false pretense, "Our chrysanthemums only belong to us. You idiots." The prison guard reacted quickly and controlled Levi, and then another prison guard went to check the blue-skinned alien who fell on the ground. After a long time, the prison student shook his head. "You actually killed him," the prison guard who controlled Levi exclaimed in shock. "If you didn't stop him, he would have to come over to provoke me." Levi shrugged and said innocently, "I thought you didn't like him either." So Levi was charged with one more crime, and the punishment was severe. After being sent to the cell by the prison guards, several of them were in the same prison area and in the same passage. Levi didn't care, but his aggressive attack shocked Star-Lord and others. Star-Lord felt that if it were him, he would at most give the opponent eggs. "Are you really from Earth?" Across the cell, Star-Lord looked at Levi in surprise. Levi nodded, "It's genuine." "When did the people on Earth become so strong?" Star-Lord showed a black question mark face. "Maybe you're just a weakling?" Rocket Raccoon asked in his soul. At this moment, Star-Lord had doubts about his identity. "I'm not from Earth." Star-Lord pointed at himself. "Alien weak chicken hybrid." Gamera sneered, "Commonly known as." Rocket Raccoon responded, "BD. Ha ha ha. I'm Groot, dinner time." The cell door of Levi, Star-Lord, and others was opened. Rocket Raccoon, Groot, and Star-Lord naturally chose to team up with Levi to go to the restaurant. Only Gamera did not want to go alone with everyone. Gamera's unsociable thinking soon brought her own misfortune. A group of big men stopped Gamera. They were the ones he had called Huan. Ronan's lackey. "If it weren't for Ronan, my family wouldn't be dead. Damn it." Several people took out knives and forced Gamera into a corner. Gamera looked at the knives. When her back was close to the wall, she slammed one person down with her knees, then grabbed the knife and put it on the other person's neck. "I have betrayed Ronan and left Thanos, and now their affairs have nothing to do with me," Gamera said solemnly. Then Gamera voluntarily put down her weapon to show her sincerity, but some people didn't care about this. A giant man with a dark complexion and red lines rushed out, grabbed Gamera's neck, and knocked her down against the wall. Lift it up. I will never believe guys like you. Ronan killed my daughter. Killed my wife. Destroyed my family. You are his, you deserve to die, the giant man roared angrily, holding his hands. The force on Gamera increased. Gamera looked in pain and was speechless. Hey 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 hey. Don't do this. Star-Lord returned in time and happened to see the scene, and quickly stabilized the giant man. Star-Lord said cautiously, Ronan is the culprit. Even if you kill Gamera, it will not help. Star-Lord was afraid of angering this strong man. The giant man turned to look at Star-Lord. Levi took this opportunity to appear in front of the giant man, grabbed the other person's arm, and said at the same time, like a man 1.2, don't vent your anger on others, she is not killing your wife and daughter's accomplices. She doesn't know how many families she has destroyed. The giant man refused to let go, but the force coming from his arm became stronger and stronger, forcing him to look squarely at this slender man. The giant man has no rivals in this prison, and this is the first time he has encountered someone with such strength. She betrayed Ronan. As long as she is with him, Ronan will not let her go. At this time, Star-Lord also reassured, you can wait until Ronan comes over. And gestured with his hand on his neck. It hints that he will be able to kill Ronan when the time comes. The giant man looked at Star-Lord and thought for a few seconds before saying, why should I draw circles on Ronan's neck? Okay, this guy doesn't understand metaphors at all. Levi said helplessly, he means that you can kill Ronan then. The giant man nodded and finally let go of Gamera. Gamera fell to the ground and breathed heavily, finally regaining her composure. Chapter 91. In fact, Star-Lord is not out of kindness, but wants to know who else the Cosmic Spirit Ball can be sold to through Gamera. During the free time after dinner, Star-Lord secretly approached Gamera and talked about the Cosmic Spirit Ball. Levi and Rocket Raccoon listened to the conversation between the two without any loss. 4 billion star coins. This guy is only worth 40,000. Hearing the price, Rocket Raccoon jumped out, pointed at Gamera and said, little green girl, how about I share the money equally for helping you escape from prison? Gamera thought for a moment and said, yes, but just a few of us can escape from prison. Hey, you, me, Star-Lord. Rocket Raccoon looked at Levi and said, how can you help? Levi smiled when he heard this, me. If you can help me get the drive back, I can take you out of here directly without even alerting the guards. You've hidden a lot of secrets. You're much better than your fellow countrymen. At least you know how to share. Rocket Raccoon secretly scolded Star-Lord. Star-Lord immediately said angrily, you damn talking little raccoon. What is a little raccoon? It's an animal on Earth that some families also keep as pets. Levi continued. Rocket Raccoon immediately angrily said, I am not that kind of low-level creature. You weak chicken hybrid human being. Since you have experience in escaping from prison, I'll leave it to you. As long as we get the things back, the money will be divided equally between the four of us. Gamera didn't bother to watch them argue and quickly ended the topic. Groot then spoke up, I am Groot. 5. Rocket Raccoon will never forget his partner. Star-Lord's face was full of displeasure, is this guy considered a human? He was lying there sleeping so soundly just now, and now he wakes up when he hears the money. In the next few days, several people silently inquired about information about the prison and prepared for the escape plan. The guards' watch can control the opening and closing of the gate. If you want to escape from prison, you must have this thing. The guards in the watchtower are seamlessly connected, and it is impossible to touch it directly. Li Wei told him all the information he had gathered. According to my observation. Star-Lord was about to speak when Rocket Raccoon interrupted decisively, you don't need to observe anymore, I still need the thin man's prosthetic leg, go get that. Hey, at least let me finish my sentence. I know what you are going to say. It's just that Drax has eaten a few tails of meat today, that guard over there likes to smoke, and the guard at the watchtower today is the guard who likes your music player. Oh my god. Rocket Raccoon could babble out all the thoughts in Star-Lord's heart, and he couldn't stand it anymore. Rocket's continuous verbal cannons made Star-Lord stunned for a moment. In the end, Star-Lord was stunned for a few seconds before he reacted and said, prosthetic limbs? What's the use of that? Your brain doesn't need to know what that is for. Rocket Raccoon then said to Gamera and Levi, finally we need the Koni's battery, which is also a hard to obtain item. That battery high above the ground. Gamera didn't expect that the rocket would need this thing. It was harder to get than the watch on the early warning wrist. Not only Gao, but also in the middle of a high-security prison. Rocket Raccoon continued, once the battery is removed, the prison will enter a state of alert, so once you succeed, you must use the fastest speed. Be sure to remove the battery at the last moment. Suddenly, the lights flickered and then went out. Soon the alarm sound ding beep 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 sounded. Like this. Levi pointed at Groot behind him, who was still holding a battery in his hand. Seeing everyone looking back at him, Groot handed the battery to Rocket Raccoon in confusion. Rocket Raccoon shook his head helplessly. Just like this. Now, play it by ear. I'm going to get the leg. Star-Lord immediately ran towards the cell over there. After a few days of wandering around, he had already figured out whose cells were here. I'll get the watch. Gamera also rushed out quickly. Rocket Raccoon and Levi looked at each other. I think we need a weapon. Rocket pointed at the drone flying not far away. Prisoners. Get down now. The drone was equipped with powerful firepower, but it did not fire. It just wanted to make the criminals stop their actions through deterrence. Prison guards with guns took this opportunity to also rush into the prison, but most of this prison is filled with fierce criminals. We'll listen to this warning. Soon the prisoners rioted and the prison was in chaos. Groot, who was holding the Coney's battery, and Rocket and Levi, who were closest to it, were the first to be taken care of by these drones. Come on! Pure Earthlings! The rocket jumped onto Groot's body. Groot was really rough and thick-skinned, and he was not afraid of being shot by this kind of drone weapon. Levi picked up the bench, jumped up and slapped it, smashing a drone. You look like a veteran in street fighting. Rocket praised. Seeing the prisoner taking the initiative to attack, the drone also started to fight back. A hail of bullets rained down instantly. The rocket nested on Groot's back, and Groot could only block 410 with branches. The branches were whipped, but soon the branches that just extended were crushed by the machine gun. Seeing this opportunity, the giant man from before also joined the fight. He climbed down from the second floor and raised his hands twice to knock down the two prison guards. How can we fight without weapons? I can't grab Groot's bark and throw them at them. Purebred Earthlings should also find us a stool. Rocket was helplessly shot by machine guns. Drax! Get Rocket a gun! The giant man picked up a gun from the ground and threw it to Rocket. Rocket took the gun and let out an indescribable excitement, oh! Yeah! After getting the rocket from the guy, he fired at the drone. Levi also changed his stool into a gun and pulled the trigger to fire at the drone. Da-da-da. For a moment, the gunfire was bright, and Rocket held Groot's head and fired in all directions. Groot stood there and roared. This wave of rocket output is full, and Groot's output depends entirely on roaring. The drones exploded one after another, and the warning signs that rushed into the prison area were also knocked down. Drax came to Levi, looked at the guards who fell to the ground, and asked, "Last time you told me about the legendary Brother Sue from the East Ward, what did you say?" The axe chopped down Tong's tile-roofed house downstairs, and his household registration was cancelled, all because of his bones. Li Wei said, patting his chest. Chapter 92. Ruthlessly crushing the prison guards and drones, several people moved quickly and rushed towards the watchtower. Gamera relied on her skills to defeat the guard and snatch the watch from his wrist, and also headed towards the eye tower. Star-Lord was too embarrassed to bully a disabled person, so he had to use the little book collected by Drax to stabilize the other person and run away while the other person was reading. Really run away. The disabled criminal really couldn't catch up with his legs. Groot used ability to build a wooden ladder leading to the top of the tower, and everyone climbed up the tower to seize control. The lone prison guard could only let a few people tie him up and throw him aside. Rocket Raccoon operated at the tower. The prison guard's watch and Cornish batteries were placed on both sides of the screen. Star-Lord held the prosthetic leg and thought about it for a long time, not knowing what its use was. So he slapped the prosthetic leg on the table and asked, "Here you go. What's the use of it?" Rocket Raccoon first glanced at the prosthetic leg, then turned to look at Star-Lord. "I was kidding about the prosthetic leg, I only need those two things." "One what?" Star-Lord glared at Rocket. "I just thought it would be funny." "How funny?" "Ha ha ha ha. I really want to see that guy walking with a bounce." Although Rocket smiled, there was a little hollowness in his eyes. Levi noticed that Rocket's small, dark eyes were not very bright, and knew that this little guy had a tragic past. I ran to Drax's cell and used his little book to get a prosthetic leg. Star-Lord angrily yelled, "You little raccoon boy is so unjust. That's my treasure." Drax also yelled angrily, "You are not honest, you thief, you BD of the Earth. If I have a chance, I will take you to Earth to read comics." Levi knows best how exciting the comics on Earth are. "Hey, be sure to pay attention to your wording. You can scold me, but don't bring my fellow countrymen with you. You know that Levi has a bad temper. Be careful when he gets angry and burns all those comics." Star-Lord doesn't want to compete with this big guy, so he can only appease him. Drax stretched out 2 fingers and said in a loud voice, "Then I want 2 copies." Levi covered his face, not wanting to laugh out loud. Such a Drax is really stupid. Back to trouble, but the surging drones outside were surrounding them one after another. Even if Leeway and others had a prison guard as a hostage, they could not stop these drones from firing. Fortunately, the glass is bulletproof, so drone weapons pose no threat for the time being. The rocket was being disassembled and assembled on the console for a while. Levi couldn't quite understand these alien technologies and what those lines were used for, but the rocket was able to accurately find what he wanted. The rocket took out the last 2 blank plugs and docked them together, and then the artificial gravity system was turned off. The guards, drones, and the lying prisoners in the outer prison area were all suspended due to the failure of gravity. "Hurry up and hold me down." Rocket grabbed the edge of the console, his body suspended in mid-air. Drax pressed down the rocket, while he himself was holding Levi with one hand. Only Leeway seemed to be unconstrained by gravity and stood steadily in place. Rocket glanced at Levi and said nothing more. "Hey, hey, hey." Star-Lord hurriedly levitated. Fortunately, he was caught by Groot and didn't hit the ceiling. Gamera consciously hooked Groot's shoulder. She seemed to have trained how to deal with the loss of gravity. "No, how did you do it?" Drax asked curiously when he saw that Levi was as steady as a mountain. Levi glanced at his feet and said, "Don't you get your heels stuck in the gaps in the floor." Star-Lord was tied by Groot's legs, with his arms against the ceiling, and said with great difficulty, "Is there a possibility that the floor there is bad enough for you to get your shoes stuck in it?" As the rocket was operated on the console, the top of the observation tower where everyone was located separated from the tower body. As the internal gravity was restored, everyone returned to their original state. Drax threw the hostages out, and no one said anything. Everyone was a respectable person, and they would not resort to such low-level tactics as threatening hostages. The rocket hacks into the drone and controls the drone to connect to the bottom of the observation tower, turning it into a propeller. In this way, a small spaceship is completed. Although the fuel of the drone will not last long, it is enough for them to escape from this prison area. Use the prison guard's watch to open the door, and Rocket drives the temporary spacecraft to break out. Along the way, drones with stronger firepower appeared. The drones in the surveillance area were just bullets, but the drones outside were already laser weapons. Flames bloomed outside from time to time, and the temporary flight machine swayed left and right, which was extremely exciting. Everyone fled all the way to the prisoners' belongings storage room, seizing the time to retrieve their belongings. Star-Lord took back the Cosmic Spirit Ball, but after rummaging through the items, he didn't find his precious music player. "Damn it! I lost my stuff and I want to get it back. Take the Cosmic Spirit Ball first." Star-Lord casually handed a cloth bag with stuff to Levi. Levi had changed back into his previous outfit, a brown windbreaker, black pants and a white shirt, and smoothed out the wrinkles like an iron. Seeing Levi's outfit, Star-Lord couldn't help complaining, "You change outfits so fast. Have you practiced this before?" Others gathered around Levi, and Rocket asked, "Didn't you say you could take us out of here directly? What do you say now?" Levi opened the bag and found that there was no Cosmic Spirit Ball inside, but Star-Lord still kept it. Star-Lord's worries were right. After all, he was tricking his fellow countrymen into tears when he went out, even though Levi didn't have this idea. This guy. Gamera also noticed the contents of the bag. Now everyone can only wait for Star-Lord to come back. Fortunately, Star-Lord did not delay for a long time. When he saw everyone waiting for him here, Star-Lord said with a playful smile, "I'm glad to see you my friends again. Oh no, my fellow inmates. Okay, purebred earthlings, how do you take us away?" Rocket looked up at Levi. Levi took out the drive and tapped it heavily with the index finger of the hand holding the drive. This is not easy, use this. What kind of equipment is that? Levi buckled the driver around his waist, the belt extended from both sides of the driver and locked it, put on a ring, and placed his hand in front of the hand-shaped buckle. With an inexplicable sound effect, zhao zhao, the magic circle slid down. Levi transforms into a golden magician. Everyone was shocked. Star-Lord was the first to react and exclaimed, Earth's technology is already so advanced. Very strange technology. Rocket Raccoon looked at Levi's body. Gamera heard the sound of footsteps and quickly urged, stop talking nonsense. Let's take us away quickly. Don't worry. Levi drew 10 portals in a circle with one hand and opened them in front of everyone. Levi walked in first. He simply opened a space door. Rocket said in shock. I am Groot. Groot also expressed shock. Drax didn't care about that and finally got free, dragging Gamera and walked directly in. Others followed suit. Just as the guard came around the corner, the portal closed. Rocket watched the portal close behind him and couldn't help but sigh, this is a path I never imagined. Chapter 93. What is this? A spaceship. Star-Lord looked around. My spaceship. Levi released his transformation and sat in the driver's seat to start the spacecraft. Then where is the location? Rocket was stunned and had a bad feeling. Leeway took it for granted, it is definitely the seaport of Xandar, I will park the spaceship here. I'm Zifa. Rocket cursed, he really escaped from the tiger's den and entered the bear's den. Rocket consciously sat on the co-pilot and helped control the spacecraft. While pressing the buttons on the instrument, he said, fortunately, the model of the spacecraft is not too old. Where did you get the spacecraft? A gift from Odin, the god king of Asgard. What? Some people were confused and some were surprised. Gamera has heard of Odin's name, a god that even Thanos dare not offend. Star-Lord knows the mythology of Earth. Others have no idea who Odin is. With a roar, the engine started, Levi pulled the joystick and the spacecraft quickly levitated. Flame Tongue 107 puffed out, the throttle was fully pulled, and the spacecraft flew into the atmosphere of Xandar at full speed. What a big name! Could it be more powerful than Vegeta? Drax recalled the little story Levi told during dinner. What about Prince Vegeta, the famous prince's fighting skills? Gamera understands, let her explain to you in private. Levi concentrated on controlling the spacecraft. Drive slowly, I'm not firm yet. Star-Lord stood on the spaceship and shook the box. After leaving Xandar, guided by rockets, they made a space jump and quickly left the jurisdiction of the Nova Corps. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and the spacecraft was set to autopilot. They now need to discuss where to exchange the Cosmic Spirit Ball for money. Everyone sat around the table and looked at the Cosmic Spirit Ball on the table. Rocket Raccoon wondered, what exactly is the Cosmic Spirit Ball? Why do so many people want to get it? The important thing is not the ball, but what's inside the ball. Levi picked up the Universe, CGFG, Spirit Ball, and soon he sensed the surging power in it. A gleam of purple light shone along Levi's arm holding the Spirit Ball. Star-Lord frowned and watched this scene. No one else seemed to see this purple light, and Star-Lord pretended not to see it. Where are we going to sell this ball? Rocket Raccoon still hopes to get more money. This Spirit Ball is a disaster. So many people are snatching it, so there is really no need to keep it around. Yes, where is your buyer? Star-Lord looked at Kayla. The land of nothingness. Gamera said seriously. Click. Rocket Raccoon was surprised, you mean the Tavan Group? The Elder of the Universe, Collector. Gamera nodded, that's right. Click. Will the other party take advantage of others? Star-Lord was very worried. Gamera turned to Levi and said, isn't there still him? That's right, just open the space door and leave. Star-Lord felt that his words made sense. Click. Drax, you're stealing my potato chips, be careful, I'll rub Star-Lord's shit on your head while you're sleeping. Rocket Raccoon couldn't help but yelled at Drax who was trying to catch him. This bag of potato chips was lost to Levi while playing cards in prison. On the other hand, Levi did not put down the Cosmic Spirit Ball, but said to himself, before the creation of the universe, there were 6 singularities. Then the universe was formed due to the Big Bang, and the remnants of these 6 singularities were created. Infinite gems are made into multiple concentrated ingots. Infinite gems are 6 extremely powerful objects, 10 gems with unique abilities. The power gem in the Cosmic Spirit Ball is one of them. There are 6 such things? Let's say one is 4 billion, 6. Star-Lord counted with his fingers. Gamera was not impressed by the numbers but said solemnly, "What is the effect of the Power Stone?" Levi said while recalling, "It can provide unlimited power supply of super energy, and it can also provide the user with unlimited energy, copy any physical ability to form its own invincible super energy calendar. According to the degree of invoking the power energy of infinite gems, the user's own functional values can be increased to any level, the power gem ability can be fully exerted, and the user can be given omnipotent power. Simply put, it is easy to destroy a planet." Gamera was shocked. No wonder Ronan wanted to get this thing. This thing must not be given to Ronan. He needs to store it in a safe place. Gamera held the Cosmic Spirit Ball and wanted to take it from Levi's hand. Levi held the Cosmic Spirit Ball and did not let go. He is thinking that if he embeds the power gem into his belt now, his power should reach a terrifying level and even enhance the effect of the reality gem. When used in conjunction with reality gem, power gem can bring out most of the reality gem's abilities. When the time comes, knights with more powerful abilities will be unlocked, and even Thanos will be nothing more than a top seller. You mean Ronan wants to get this little iron ball? Drax stared at Gamera closely. Gamera remained silent, and the atmosphere suddenly became anxious. Hey, what do you think? Let's go and share the 4 billion. Star-Lord urged. He realized that the atmosphere among everyone was not quite right. If there was a fight, he really didn't know who to help. A fellow villager, a hometown animal and its entourage, a strong man, and a green-skinned chick. Levi suddenly let go, raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Since you want 4 billion so much, then go find the collector. After all, he is also one of the elders of the universe, and his strength is high. What's more, collector has a lot of treasures. If something goes wrong, he can still take advantage of it." Thinking of this, Levi looked at Drax. Chapter 94. As one of the cosmic elders, Collector is not weak in strength and can protect the Cosmic Spirit Ball under normal circumstances. Collector's full name is Tanya Jiwan. The Elders of the Universe are the first members of the highly intelligent humanoid race to evolve in the universe, and are also one of the oldest life forms in the universe. In fact, they were the last survivors of their respective races. After realizing that they were the only survivors of the first life in the history of this universe, they began to contact each other, so the prototype of the Universal Council of Elders emerged. Although they belong to different races and have almost no biological connection, they have come to regard each other as brothers and sisters. It's like Collector and Gao Tianzun are brothers who have a very good relationship. They all have their own specialties or hobbies. Gao Tianzun likes to play space games, Collector likes to collect various things, and the horticulturist is obsessed with the growth of plant life. After Li Wei's scrawled science popularization, everyone also had a preliminary impression of this group of grandfathers. Gamera is more confident in Collector. But Levi knew that Collector could not guard the Cosmic Spirit Ball. In the end, he was the one who took the Cosmic Spirit Ball to safety. "I went there this time just to get benefits and cheat money. The land of nothingness is quite far away, and the continuous space jumps are too much for everyone's bodies. In addition, we need supplies, so we can only travel to other planets." After a month of running in, the group of people became familiar with each other. Except for some bee like Drax who always say Rocket is a little reptile. Over time, Drax's bad words finally caused the rocket to explode, and a raccoon and a giant man started to fight with real swords and guns. Star-Lord broke up the fight and asked Rocket to save the face of 4 billion, and Rocket could not hold back his temper and not shoot Drax twice. The skull in front is the place of nothingness. Levi sat in the driver's seat and looked at the skull in front of him through the windshield. It is said that the land of nothingness was formed by the severed head of a god. After years of development by the Jiwan group, it finally became like this. Gamera and others were also looking at the oozing skull from behind. "I know this. I've heard it from other predators. This head is said to be chopped off by Nar, the god of symbiotes, with a sword. The rumors are getting weirder and weirder." Rocket held the steering column and urged the spacecraft to move towards the land of nothingness. There are thousands of alien races in the void. It is very easy for misunderstandings to occur here. It is very likely that an action will be regarded as a provocation by a certain race. However, as long as you have money, everything can be solved. It is really difficult to have money in your pocket. A few points, that can be solved by force. There are many alien exiles here, which is very chaotic and neutral, and there are often moments of mutual attack. Fortunately, the group of people held the cosmic spirit ball and were the distinguished guests of the collector, so they were invited into the land of nothingness without any trouble. The location of the collector is the tallest building in the land of nothingness. The spacecraft docked at the port and followed the guide to where the collector was. After waiting for a while in the high-rise building, they were informed that the collector was waiting for them in the collection room. I followed the pink-skinned maid to the collection room. As soon as I entered the door, I saw a silver-haired man in his 40s or 50s with a shrimp line on his jaw. The collector seemed to be very much looking forward to the arrival of the cosmic spirit ball, and immediately stepped forward to greet them. "Welcome everyone. Let me see your results quickly. Where is the cosmic spirit ball?" the collector said eagerly. Gamera took out the cosmic spirit ball. Collector's eyes lit up and he stared at the cosmic spirit ball. Gamera did not let go but asked, "You promised, haven't you forgotten it?" "That's definitely. But I have to inspect the goods first. After all, the spirit ball is secondary. What's important is what's inside it." Collector and Gamera looked at each other. Gamera then let go, letting Collector hold the cosmic spirit ball. Collector took the cosmic spirit ball and asked others to follow him to witness what he thought was a historic moment. Levi happened to also want to visit the collector's collection, so he walked in without any hesitation. When Collector saw that the last one to come in was Groot, his eyes immediately lit up, which was as good as getting the cosmic spirit ball. "You are the last Flora Colossus. Please sell your body to me after you die." Collector held Groot's hand affectionately. "I am Groot." Groot's expression was indifferent. "It would not die that easily." Rocket said angrily, "Hey! How can I buy it for you if I die? Can you make a chair? Is this your pet? A modified raccoon?" Collector looked at Levi. Levi looked at the collector's collection and said without looking back, "He is our partner. If you say the wrong thing again, be careful not to sell the cosmic spirit ball to you." 2. Collector couldn't help but laugh and said, "Oh, who else would dare to collect this thing besides me?" Rocket glared at Collector, who still smiled indifferently. The collector's collection is quite rich, not limited to dead objects, but also living objects. Not to mention other aliens in the collection, there is even a golden retriever wearing a spacesuit. Earth. Levi stood in front of the golden retriever's glass cabinet, lowering his head and looking at the dog. The golden retriever was so happy when he saw Levi's appearance, he whimpered with tears in his eyes. After Collector saw it, he explained very unusually, "This creature comes from your Earth. It was originally an ordinary dog. After being abandoned, it came to the void and underwent a genetic mutation. It has strong psychic ability. That's why it became my collection. 000 psychic ability." Levi relaxed his mind and soon felt that this dog had an inexplicable intimacy with him. "Hello, are you from Earth?" A smart voice sounded in my mind. "I'm from Earth, what's your name?" Levi replied. "Kamos, people used to call me Kamos." The dog sensed Levi's thoughts and looked up at Mavi with expectation in his eyes. "You want to come out of here? Oh, it's really terrible here. It's such a small space. It's even smaller than the spacecraft our country used to fly me into space." Levi was stared at by the dog's expectant eyes and could not refuse, so he had to respond, "Okay, I will discuss with the collector to see if I can take you back to Earth. But I no longer have a home on Earth." The dog was a little lonely. It was abandoned. Thinking of the news about space dogs, Levi could also guess this. The Earth is your home, and it is not limited to one country or one place. After replying, Levi turned his attention to Collector. The collector has put the cosmic spirit ball into a machine, and the laser emitted by the machine separates the outer metal of the spirit ball. With nothing to do, Collector also popularizes infinite gems with others. Although I heard it from Li Wei's mouth, I only heard it with my ears. This time I saw it with my eyes. The record projected by the collector clearly recorded the power of the Power Stone. Coupled with projection, the performance of power gems is more shocking than words. Chapter 95. Is that one of the gods? Levi walked closer and asked. In the projected picture, it was a giant holding a scepter inlaid with power gems in his hand to destroy the planet. Collector glanced at Levi and said with a smile, "I didn't expect you to know about the celestial god group. But even if they are as strong as the celestial god group, their heads have now become a place of nothingness, and we can exploit them casually and use their brains to operate. Nerves act as conveyor belts. Okay, science popularization is over. Let's take a look at the power gem. Collector turned his head and looked at the instrument. It didn't matter after this look, and he suddenly became nervous. Hey, hey! Karina, don't touch it! The pink-skinned maid had a look of resentment on her face and gritted her teeth and said, Tuan. I must return the shame you brought to me. After saying that, Carrie directly held the Luang gem. Boom! 663 Karina's hand holding the power gem burst into dazzling purple light, and even her eyes were completely shrouded in purple. Hey! What's wrong? Seeing Collector's unhappy look, Star-Lord asked quickly, why do your people hate you so much? Sure. That's all Collector said. Then Karina let out a cry of pain. The light releases countless purple light balls. Bang! Boom! Boom! Everything the light ball passed was destroyed. The Collector's collection also suffered a disaster. The living things were okay and were liberated, but the dead things were completely turned into pieces. Hide! Gamera grabbed the nearest rocket and threw it to Groot. Groot's body was also partially destroyed by the passing light ball, but fortunately his body could be regenerated. Groot protected the rocket and hid behind the display case. Star-Lord and Gamera also thought of hiding places one after another. Drax was too big and it was not safe to hide behind the display cabinet and simply ran out. Star-Lord shouted, Levi, what are we going to do? Star-Lord was attacked like this and there was nothing he could do. Levi took out the drive and transformed, and simply said 2 words, wait. Turning into a golden magician, the magician opened the space door, which led to Karina's back. Levi activated his magic power and pushed the space door until it electrocuted most of Karina's body. Karina was in such a state that she could no longer notice the guide around her, and was completely absorbed by the power gem, unable to move. The space door suddenly closed, and the space closed directly cut off one of Karina's arms. Karina was able to escape, but her arm was completely crushed by the power of the Power Emperor gem. The power gem also stopped. A weak body cannot use the power stone. The power of the power stone will burst your body, Karina. Collector breathed a sigh of relief and stood up. Karina murmured, her eyes were dull and her skin was cracked. She couldn't hear it anymore. Levi also looked down at Karina. The Collector laughed, I will let her live like this, living in pain. This is the consequence of betrayal. However, before he could be proud for too long, Karina's other hand suddenly raised, and a purple beam of light shot out from her palm. The Collector was hit by the beam and flew out with his eyes wide open, knocking down a large number of things. I didn't say she was blind. Levi shrugged, turning his fingers quietly, and a small space door opened somewhere in the room, and no one noticed his small movements behind his back. The Collector climbed up from the ruins, his head disheveled, and he stared at Karina fiercely. I decided to give you a good time. But before he could take action, another change occurred. The siren sounds false. Invaded. Intruded, the alarm sounded. Collector said angrily, one after another. Damn it. Bang. The door was suddenly opened, and when he took a closer look, it was Drax who bumped in from the door. What kind of acrobatics is this? Drax. Star-Lord thought it was Drax who did it. Drax lay on the ground, breathing heavily, and said intermittently, Ronan/Gamera realized something and looked up at the door. I saw someone opening the door to the collection room and striding in. Behind him were a group of Kree soldiers. Ronan. Gamera squeezed out 2 words through her teeth when she saw the person coming. Ronan is wearing a hood, his head is round and wrapped, and he looks a bit funny with blue skin and eyeshadow. His face was expressionless, as if someone owed him a lot of money and hadn't paid him back. Groot helped Drax up, and Drax stood up tremblingly. Who allowed you to come in without my permission? The accuser, Ronan. As the owner of this place, Collector felt disgraced. First, the maid betrayed him, and then Ronan broke in, making him lose his face. I was also guided by Thanos to hand over the cosmic spirit ball, Tuan. Ronan was not afraid of the Collector's stern gaze, so it didn't matter if the opponent was the elder of Hanzhou. Just a bunch of damned guys. I must deal with Ronan with my own hands. Drax roared through gritted teeth, his eyes of hatred seeming to bite people. Everyone looked at him strangely, so, you are the one who led the Japs into the village. Drax roared and rushed towards Ronan with 2 short knives. Warrior! Kill him! Charge! The collector was determined to cheer for Drax. There is a sense of déjà vu for Pokemon battles. Levi couldn't help but shook his head. Drax rushed forward and swung his dagger, but Drax's attack failed. Ronan fought back, and Ronan's attack effect shook the group. Drax loses his combat ability. Drax was kicked away. Collector saw him flying towards him and dodged, only to see him hit the display cabinet. Hand over the cosmic spirit ball. Tavan. Ronan pressed forward step by step, and Collector looked at Levi and motioned for him to go up and try to. Levi pretended not to see it and even took the initiative to give way. Seeing that Levi was so knowledgeable, Ronan glanced at him appreciatively, and then continued to press forward step by step. Collector has no choice but to go there himself. Others also rushed to check on Drax, but fortunately Drax just fainted. The Collector's eyes gathered the energy of the universe and suddenly shot out a beam of light. Ronan raised the black sledgehammer to block, and the laser was completely blocked. His eyes continued to release, and Ronan quickened his pace. Just as he was about to approach the Collector, Ronan quickly leaned down, picked up the hammer, and struck the Collector in the stomach. Ronan squinted his eyes and saw that the opponent was not attacked. He could only see that his body was dented in a strange way, completely avoiding the hammer's blow. The cosmic energy gathered again, and Collector's body suddenly changed, making Ronan's eyes widen. It's that woman. Chapter 96. Ronan was frightened. This woman was wearing a red and blue battle suit, a golden 5-star on her chest, and that playful smile. Carol Danvers. The woman who destroyed his fleet. She was also the woman who made him a laughing stock. From expressionless to frightened, to angry. Ronan's thoughts changed 3 times in just a few seconds. Hey! Ronan swung the hammer and hit the Collector, who turned into Captain Marvel. The Collector returned to his original form and retreated slightly, just in time to avoid the opponent's attack. Ronan swung the sledgehammer furiously, each blow filled with rage. He was not only angry because Collector laughed at him with that woman's appearance, but he was also angry at his original timidity. But Collector can dodge just right every time. His body is always a few millimeters away from the hammer, so that the opponent cannot hit it. Why? How did he do it? Rocket and others were also watching the duel between Ronan and Collector, but how did Collector do it so calmly? No one can understand. Is Collector really that strong? However, Levi could clearly perceive Collector's movements. Collector had already taken a position in advance, and that position was just out of reach of Ronan's attack. He predicted Ronan's attack, so he took action 1 step ahead. Ronan swung dozens of hammers in succession, and finally stopped attacking. His chest heaved, and he stared at the Collector fiercely and said, "You've been playing tricks on me. You have discovered all this. Then let you see what I can do as the Elder of the Universe." Collector's eyes once again condensed the energy of the universe, and his eyes beams were fired again. Ronan thought it was some powerful move, but he didn't expect it to be the same trick. Seeing this, he planned to continue using the hammer to absorb the beam energy. However, this time the beam penetrated the space and disappeared when it was still some distance away from Ronan. It appeared from behind Ronan and hit him. Ronan staggered, and then the beam changed again, this time to the top of Ronan's head. Shoulders. Neck. Arms. Collector beat him in every position, and soon Ronan was covered in bruises. Even the omnipotent weapon in his hand was knocked away by the beam of his eyes and fell into the space door prepared by Levi in advance. The men brought by Ronan couldn't stand it anymore. The bald man raised his gun and fired directly at the Collector. When the others saw this, they also rushed to save their boss. However, Levi directly blocked these attacks and counterattacked with fire magic, directly killing Ronan's men. Good job! Seeing that no one was interfering with him, Collector continued to attack Ronan with great interest. The frequency of attacks was so fast that Ronan could only be beaten passively and had no time to defend himself. After years of not taking action, do you, Amir Kree, really think I'm old? Accuser? Charge me in court. Collector said while talking. Soon Ronan fell to his knees with scars all over his body. Without the hammer, his physical strength alone was not enough to resist. The Collector captured Ronan but did not kill him. You guys have seen the joke. Now that the cosmic spirit ball is in my hands, I will transfer the transaction money to everyone's cards later. The collector began to chase people away. The collection room was in chaos, and all the living animal collections had escaped. He had to clean it up and have people recover the collections. Several people stayed in the void for a few hours, and Drax also woke up during this period. But Ronan being alive made Drax very angry, but he didn't dare to touch the collector's troubles. You have to avenge yourself with your own hands. Ronan is also someone else's prisoner now. You feel good about killing a prisoner. Wouldn't it be nice to kill him in an honest and fair manner later on? Levitt tried to comfort Drax, who had been silent all this time. Drax can't cause trouble anymore. If he causes trouble again, his plan will be discovered. However, Drax did not cause trouble, and other troublemakers appeared unexpectedly. Coxcomb had said to his men in a hoarse voice, "Catch that damn boy Peter Quill." Seeing that his men were motionless, the blue-skinned man with coxcomb hair was stunned, and then said angrily, "What's wrong with you? You're just standing there peeing." The deputy patted his arm, pointed forward and said, "Boss Yondu, look." Yondu turned his head and said, "If Clarklin lets me see." Looking along the position pointed by his deputy, Yondu paused for a moment and then shouted, "Get them all! Catch this kid!" Star-Lord was also stunned when he saw Yondu. Hearing that the other party asked someone to grab him, he quickly called on Levi and others around him to escape. Leeway and others didn't move. "Why don't you run away?" Star-Lord was surprised. Rocket glanced over there, then looked at Star-Lord and said, "We didn't catch us." "That's right, I will only arrest you from the beginning to the end." Leeway agreed. "I am Groot. 50,000. Rocket took out the gun hanging on his back and said to Star-Lord, "Unexpected income." Groot. Groot cooperated very well and controlled Star-Lord. Star-Lord watched in horror as the predators got closer and closer, shouting, "What on earth are you doing? Can't I just give you my share? We would still be divided without you." "Ha ha ha." Rocket burst out laughing when he saw Star-Lord's embarrassment. "And you can earn an extra 50,000. My friend Peter, you are really worth 610. Drax also laughed. "I won't give you the money even if I donate it to the Kree." Star-Lord kicked Drax with his toes, but his legs were not long enough. A whistle sounded, then a whoosh. An arrow flew with red light, directly touching Star-Lord's aorta, and could easily pierce his neck with just a slight movement. The blood is splattering, and you are speechless. You can only wait for death in silence. Yondu walked over, and the other marauders made way. Yondu glanced at everyone present, with some disgust in his eyes, but he quickly hid it. "Peter, you really have made a good group of friends. Sure enough, your creed is correct, betrayers should die." Star-Lord spurned Levi and others. "As a fellow countryman, I was really stabbed." Seeing that Star-Lord's expression didn't seem to be fake, Yondu smiled sadly, "You know that as a father, I care about you the most." But his expression immediately turned gloomy and continued, "But you betrayed me again and again. Got me. Want to start a new business? You are not qualified yet, Peter, you are too young." Yondu felt as if his great revenge had been avenged. No one could figure out what the deep hatred between these two people was. "Did you steal money from this Lanpi family?" Chapter 97. What's wrong with you? Rocket couldn't help but look at Star-Lord. Star-Lord said helplessly, "I ruined his business several times." 17 Yondu reiterated, "The important thing is betrayal, and that feeling is unpleasant." "Peter. Where's the money? Give the money, and you and your son will love each other again." Rocket's muzzle turned and pointed at Yondu. Yondu pretended to push back as if he was frightened. "Oh, what a dangerous little toy." 50,000. Drax stretched out his hand. "As you know, the marauders are not in the habit of being cornered and asking for money." Yondu called out to his men and swarmed over them. "Groot." Rocket looked at Groot. Groot immediately understood and threw the rocket directly. The rocket passed by a group of people, landed directly on Yondu's shoulder, and pointed the gun at Yondu's head. "Now, you guys, get out of here. Now!" Rocket shouted coldly. Yondu, however, glanced at the gun muzzle happily and asked, "If you really care about your friends, let me go. My arrow can easily penetrate his neck. Let our boss go." Clarklin also raised his weapon and pointed it at the rocket. "Would you like to try, which is faster, my gun or your primitive weapon?" Rocket pressed the muzzle of the gun close to Yondu's head. Yondu and Rocket looked at each other, neither giving way nor blinking. For a long time, Yondu covered his eyes before compromising, okay, okay. Don't blow the wind into my eyes. The whistle arrow fell to the ground and was no longer aimed at Star-Lord. I'm breathing. You get on the spaceship. Go back and forth from wherever you are. Otherwise I'll kill him. Rocket threatened Yondu's men. The boss was captured, and his men looked at Yondu eagerly. Yondu waved his hand helplessly, telling them to return to the spaceship and throw them away. I hope you can keep your promise. Clark Lynn said solemnly as he walked past the rockets. Do not talk nonsense. Now only Yondu is left, and Groot put Star-Lord down. Star-Lord looked confused, were you acting just now? In order to cover up his embarrassment, Star-Lord said again, I mean we work together really well. You are such a fool. Rocket sighed. Star-Lord looked at Yondu and said seriously, what if it's even this time? Yondu laughed, this time not as aggressive as before. He looked at Star-Lord and said kindly, I still said the same thing, you really made a group of good friends. Star-Lord's eyes dodged, then he said firmly, that's definitely. Where's the cosmic spirit ball? You know I have to deliver it. Star-Lord said, where is the collector? 4 billion will be sent to you later. You can take my share with you. Okay, there is an explanation for this. Seeing this, Rocket put down his gun and jumped off Yondu's shoulder. Soon, the collector informed me that he could go to the bank to check the account. Star-Lord went to the bank to reconcile, and soon came back with a big bag and threw it directly to Yondu. It's all here. Yondu just shook the weight, and then smiled and said, consider yourself lucky this time, Peter. After that, he picked up the money bag and left. Just after Yondu left, Star-Lord quickly said to Levi, quick. Open the door, let's escape quickly. You guys can't. Levi and Rocket thought of something at the same time, and then felt some sympathy for Yondu for having such a son. Back to Yondu, at the moment Yondu returned to the spaceship and asked all the men who came to care to do their own things. After no one was around, he opened the money bag. Seeing the contents of the bag, Yondu smiled like an old father. I saw all kinds of dolls in the money bag. Ha 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 ha. Yondu laughed heartily while sitting in the main seat. Clark Lynn couldn't help scratching his head. Other crew members asked in a low voice, how much money did the boss take from Peter? Why are you so happy? Clarkin pursed his lips and shook his head. He didn't know what Peter gave Yondu. According to his understanding, it shouldn't be money. Peter, that naughty boy, would not give money to Yondu honestly. Yondu, the old arrogant man, must be remembering something again when he smiles like this. At the moment Leeway and others had left the land of nothingness. The spacecraft is on autopilot, and everyone else is taking a rest. Only Levi was sitting in the cockpit, looking down at the prototype belt. The belt at the moment has absorbed a purple gem. Power gem. As for the cosmic spirit ball in Collector's hand, it is just a fake that is generated by the reality gem driven by the power gem. Now try to modify the night. When Levi glanced at the small button on his belt, the projection appeared again, with a countdown above that showed about 1 year left. The gleaming purple light emitted by the power gem illuminated the dim room, and then the reality gem also bloomed with red light. Compared to the violence that Karina used to activate the power stone before, the power stone is quite gentle in Levi's hands. The belt was wrapped in purple-red energy and quickly darkened. Levi opened his eyes and looked at the countdown under the gear. Time was still flowing smoothly. Isn't it possible to speed up the countdown without time gem? Fortunately, the waiting time is not long and you can use it soon. What are you doing? A duck with a magnetic voice grabbed the passenger seat and sat on it. To prepare for the future. Levi waved the new driver at the duck. The duck in a suit gracefully held the goblet, glanced at Levi and said, you are a very thoughtful person. Then do you want me to send you back to the showcase? Levi raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, the collector should be very happy that you will go back. Oh. No need to. On the contrary, you can make a fortune if you are willing to follow Yaya. If you get rich, it's true that no one thinks he has too much money. Levi believed that this duck had that kind of mind. This duck is Howard's weirdo, and Levi took it away with him when he sent Kamas away through the portal. Follow Yaya, good luck will come. There is no need to use such dangerous things, young man, quack quack. Howard the duck said in fluent English. But when he laughs, his secret is revealed, and he still makes a quacking duck sound. It's so unpleasant to be called a young man by a duck. Levi put away the drive and asked instead, there is one thing I am curious about. Howard the duck took a sip of wine and asked, what's the matter? Do you have a relative named Tang Mulya? Howard the duck stared at Levi for a while before replying, who is that? Where did you hear about it? It's okay. Levi shook his head, and then continued to ask, where is Karina? How is it? Howard the duck shook his glass and replied, you used the reality gem to restore her, but there is a lot of power gem energy left in Karina's body. I'm afraid she can become the second Captain Marvel. That was a real surprise. Karina was obtained by Li Wei from the Collector, and the Collector was not stingy. He just let Li Wei deal with her as he pleased, treating her as a favor. Chapter 98. Karina works as a cleaner every day and wipes my showcase clean every time. She is my friend. You saved my friend, so you are also my friend. But my friend, where is your route going? Howard the duck looked at the route set by Levi with some confusion. I have to return to Earth. Star-Lord and the others have agreed. Levi adjusted his route as he went. You still need to jump through the wormhole 3 times in a row to return to Earth. Howard the duck had no objection to this. Well, I heard that there are many fine wines and foods on Earth, and I want to try the cocktails there. Then you're in for a treat. While one person and one duck were talking about the Earth, at the moment there was a war happening somewhere on the Earth. Within Sokovia, in a forest covered with ice and snow, a group of people were fighting despite the severe cold. Tony, Dr. Zhao's regenerative cradle technology is extraordinary, we must not let HYDRA get it. A man wearing a shield and a red and blue battle suit was riding a motorcycle through the jungle. Boom! A piece of snow fell on the ground. The motorcycle narrowly escaped. So, what kind of technology can make you, the president, lose your temper and run away? 827. Congress agreed? How come I didn't know? Tony replied anxiously on the radio. That is more advanced technology than your steel battlesuit. The government supports it greatly. As the president, I must personally go out and find it, not to mention HYDRA is involved. Captain America didn't care about Tony's feelings at all, because the facts are true. This is what it looks like. Da-da-da-da. The fortress set up a machine gun and fired at Tony. All the bullets were blocked by the steel battlesuit and splashed around. I guess, it should be the use of nanotechnology. Well, I suddenly want to go home. Is today Levi's birthday? Tony patted his chest, and his steel chest muscles perfectly defended against heavy machine gun bullets. Then 2 launch holes appeared on the back, and several missiles flew out, killing a group of HYDRA soldiers. Tony, don't think I don't know that Levi is traveling. And it's space travel. The key is that he didn't take you with him, which made you angry for half a month. Captain America really doesn't want to mention anything. Pot. Bucky will be your personal bodyguard tomorrow. Don't let him show up in Avengers Tower again. Seeing that he was lying on the receiving end of a gun, Bucky said helplessly, why are you talking about why it's me who's lying on the receiving end of the gun? Tony pretended not to hear Bucky's words and said to himself, by the way, you old man may not know that my battlesuit is 60% nano-sized. If I can overcome one difficulty, I can achieve 100% nano-sized. Transform into a battlesuit. Then we have to wait until you overcome that difficulty. Captain America dropped his motorcycle, picked up his shield and knocked a HYDRA soldier to the ground. You are no longer Captain America. You are now the President of the United States and I will call you President America from now on. It's always nice to be beautiful. Black Widow greeted in a cooperative manner. J.A.R.V.I.S. Change the Captain America information stored in the base to the President of the United States. Hey, you can't do this. We are teammates after all. Boom. Thor hit the ground with his hammer, and the ground instantly exploded with countless electric sparks. The HYDRA troops on the ground were shaken up and fell to the ground, and the ground finally seemed to have been plowed. Why? Thor took off his earphones. This gadget was so awkward. Hawkeye is crouching in a tree, basically shooting one HYDRA soldier at a time. Hulk even cleared the fortresses, traps, etc. in the forest, and detonated the small mines directly with his big feet. There was a fierce fight outside, but at the moment it was extremely quiet inside the HYDRA base. It's your turn. My body still needs some time to hold them back. The mechanical synthesis voice gave an order to a pair of brothers and sisters in the hall. The two brothers' eyes flashed with a strange light, and they bowed and retreated. The battle in the snowy forest has come to an end, CGBA. Tony and others have eliminated most of the HYDRA soldiers, leaving only a small number who are still resisting. Die with me, Captain America. A certain HYDRA soldier's eyes suddenly turned red, and a red mesh appeared under his skin. What? Captain America was stunned for a moment. When he saw the opponent rushing towards him, he felt something bad in his heart. He knocked him down with a shield blow. This HYDRA soldier's skin is getting redder and redder, and he explodes with crazy laughter. Captain America faced the damage directly from the front. Fortunately, he was protected by the vibranium shield and was not injured. Extremis. They were partially injected with Extremis, be careful. Captain America informed the others over the radio. However, the explosions that followed made Captain America know that it was too late. Now everyone in the Avengers Alliance can easily withstand the explosion of Extremis with their equipment, so there is no need to worry. Captain America looked at the castle on the cliff and said, "Get ready to break into the castle, Thor and Tony will go first." Tony has been studying how to enter the castle for a long time, but the outside of the castle is protected by an electromagnetic shield and cannot be entered at all. It's temporarily impossible to remove the outer protective shield and break in. I still need some time. Work harder, Tony. Before Captain America could finish speaking, he suddenly paused and looked down at his chest. There was an extra hilt on his chest. Captain America tried to stay calm and control his breathing. "What's wrong with you, Steve?" The attentive Black Widow realized something was wrong. Captain America tried his best to control his breathing and said, "I don't know what happened, but someone stabbed me. My current condition is not very good. Our president is injured, Natasha Romanoff takes him for treatment, and I will notify the bodyguards." Tony acted quickly and directly took over the responsibilities of the field commander. What happened to Steve? Winter Soldier didn't expect that his good brother would be stabbed. Could it be that his body is rusty after becoming president? I don't know, Bucky, you should all be careful. Captain America leaned behind a tree, trying to distract himself and reduce the pain. At this time, Hawkeye's heavy breathing came from the earphones. It's a person, he's very fast. Soon. Super ability. Tony released a small drone from his back and let J.A.R.V.I.S record everything on the ground. J.A.R.V.I.S recorded the situation on the ground as instructed, used the thermal imager to find a fast-moving red line, and sent the interface back to Tony. Tony asked J.A.R.V.I.S to slow down the picture, but the drone's performance could only be slowed down 10 times, so only a shadow could be seen. It's indeed super ability, very fast. You guys, oh, okay. Bang. 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 Most of the people have been hit by the opponent. Although they can still get up, they can't catch the opponent at all. Chapter 99. At the moment, Tony looked at the young girl walking slowly not far away. The other girl's emotionless eyes were always locked on him, as if she had some deep hatred. Hey! Girl, at your age, you shouldn't have any emotional problems with me. The girl was probably around 18 or 19 years old, with a young appearance and a good figure. If anything happened, Tony promised that she would never forget it. Tony was not the kind of person who would run away, so he rushed towards an unknown enemy. His teammates fell one after another, and only Thor could hold on. The opponent's fists and weapons were not enough to hurt him in front of him. Thor couldn't see the opponent, but now he was the only one on the ground who could still fight. Drink. Thor raised the Meow Hammer, and thunder flew across the sky and landed on the Meow Hammer. The power of the God of Thunder was fully demonstrated at this moment. Factory Thor raised his hammer and smashed it toward the ground. Boom! The earth cracked, spreading in all directions with Thor as the center, and electric current splashed from the fields to all directions. Soon, a young man in a silver tights knelt down on the ground with electric current flowing all over his body. His muscles were numb, his body could not use any strength at all, and his legs could not be used. When Thor saw that the opponent finally showed his weakness, he immediately flew over with the Meow Hammer, grabbed the young man from the ground and was about to punch him, but at this moment a red light bullet struck. Thor looked up with all his senses, but the light bullet was so fast that it hit his chest directly and knocked him away. Phil Coulson and others also surrounded the young girl who was walking slowly. Put down Tony. Phil Coulson turned into the second-generation Leo cavalry. He was strong and large enough to hold a gun. He pointed the black gun muzzle at the young woman and said sternly, "Stop." The biting cold wind blew the girl's black skirt slightly. She raised one hand above her head, and above her head, scarlet energy tightly controlled Tony, unable to move at all. As the girl's fist clenched, Tony's battlesuit made a metallic shape-shifting sound of crack crack. If the metal of the battlesuit hadn't been strong enough, Tony would have been squeezed into an iron rod by now. "Stop!" Phil Coulson fired directly, and the laser bullets shot towards the girl. Snapped. The girl just waved her hand, and the laser bullet was instantly dispersed by a burst of scarlet energy. At the same time, the monitor in the bunker on the cliff showed the scene of the girl scattering the laser bomb. "Baron Trask, these two children you brought are very good." Zora's mechanical voice came through the speakers. Trask, who was wearing a monocle, looked unsatisfied. He licked his lips and said, "If you hadn't used that potion to control them, these brothers and sisters wouldn't be so obedient. Are you ready?" Trask looked at the screen aside. The synthesis mechanical voice replied, "Put the synthesis cocoon into my body and I will be able to return to the world soon." "Okay. I hope you can hand over the cocoon synthesis technology to me in the future." "Definitely, that's the deal, Baron." The synthesis cocoon is made from the fragments of collected TIE particles, integrate orphanofactor and extremis using the regeneration cradle. While listening, Trask controlled the mechanical arm inside the glass experimental platform holding up a pale red silk robe that was still beating like a heart and stuffed it into the chest of the silver-grey humanoid robot. The cocoon is set into the hole and the retainer around the hole locks immediately. Then the robot's chest closed, and the robot's eyes lit up red. The robot moved, and the line connecting its body was torn off. The robot looked at its hands and clenched its fists, then punched 10 times and smashed the glass and flew out. "I still have use for the brother and sister," Trask warned. The robot nodded slowly, and then a serious male voice came from the sound generator on its neck, "I'm going to deal with the Avengers." Zola's voice is no longer a mechanical synthesis sound, but like a real person's voice. Zola left the entrance of the bunker. When she saw the sun again, she closed her eyes obsessively, as if enjoying the embrace of the sun. It has not experienced sunlight for an unknown amount of time. Scarlet light and the sounds of fighting were faintly visible not far away. At the moment, a portal suddenly opened behind the girl who controlled Tony. The young man who walked out of the space door asked very politely with a warm smile, "Excuse me, is this Sokovia?" The girl turned around and looked at the man who suddenly appeared behind her with a look of horror in her eyes. Levi was stunned for a moment when he saw the girl's face. Wanda Maximoff. Scarlet Witch. While Levi was still dazed, Scarlet Witch's red energy bomb had already been thrown. Crossing his arms to block, the moment he touched the scarlet energy bullet, Levi used magic power to create a golden shield, and smashed the scarlet energy bullet into pieces with one hand. "Levi!" Phil Coulson and others shouted in surprise after seeing Levi. "Everyone, long time no see." Levi said this, but his eyes never left Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch's eyes are dull, and her azure eyes are a bit strange, like a robot without emotions. "Wanda, kill Tony Stark. He is the culprit who killed your parents. The source of all wars. The evil that plunged the world into chaos." A humanoid machine flew from the sky, and his words were like absolute orders. Wanda looked at Tony Stark, who was already under her control, and clenched her fists. Tony, who was bound by the scarlet energy, couldn't help but howl. "Please give me flowers." A golden blade streaked across the sky, instantly cutting off the output path of scarlet energy. Tony fell downwards, and then a portal opened, swallowing Tony, and then the portal closed directly. Power gems can not only enhance the abilities of other infinite gems, but also enhance themselves. "Levi. Kamen Rider. I didn't expect you to come back suddenly." The flight robot in the sky looked at Levi, seemingly in a bad mood. "What are you?" Levi was also looking at this guy, who seemed to have the means to control Scarlet Witch. "Zora, you can call me Robot Zora." "Zola." Phil Coulson said in disbelief, "HYDRA's Zola. It turns out to be a bad thing." Levi sneered and took out the drive to transform. Complete. Levi transformed into the Emperor of Heaven and pulled the trigger to attack flight. The light bullets hit Robot Zora's body like a shower, and only the sound of fried beans was heard. Robot Zora stood out with her steel chest muscles, as if showing off her intact body to everyone. "My body is made of vibranium, your weapons are useless against me. What about this?" Two brown round light shields were locked behind Robot Zora, and in an instant Phil Coulson and Hawkeye rushed into the cone. Leo drill. The tip of the cone pressed against Robot Zora's body, causing sparks to fly. Hiss. Suddenly, the resistance disappeared. Phil Coulson and Hawkeye both thought their attack was successful, but they landed safely on the ground after penetrating Zora's body and looked back. Robot Zola was looking at them playfully. It's useless, you two. Levi said calmly, he just transformed his body. What ability is this? Hawkeye asked in surprise. Pay attention to that girl, I'll deal with Zola. Levi snapped his fingers to switch transformations, and his belt turned into a lost drive. Eternal. Seeing Levi's shape-shifting state, Robot Zora's eyes flashed with a green code, and then he made a voice, form code name Kamen Rider, Eternity. Special devices need to be inserted to perform various physical enhancements. The maximum punching force is 7 tons, and the maximum kicking force is 12 tons. The punching force when releasing blue flames. When Levi heard this, he smiled and said, Kamen Rider is a dead creature whose data limit is locked. Even the biting cold wind seemed to sense Levi's arrogance, making the cloak behind him rustle. Zone, maximum drive. The spatial memory was inserted into the slap slot, and then dozens of memory knives suddenly appeared. Chapter 100. This big iron shell is so hard to break open. Star-Lord stuck out his butt, trying to pull Tony out of the shape-shifting twisted battlesuit. Little BCH, look at me. Drax pushed Star-Lord away, raised his fist and punched Tony's mask. Tony shouted anxiously, Hey! Are you really Levi's friends? Watch out for my face. Star-Lord took away a crowbar and continued to work on Tony's waist. Looking at the two living treasures, Rocket shook his head helplessly. Howard the Duck was holding a goblet and admiring everyone's performance as if he were watching a performance. Rocket took out a small reading device, walked to Tony, and shouted back to Star-Lord and Drax mercilessly, You two, let the Rocket connected the reader's connection device to the steel battlesuit, and then operated on the reader. After a while, only a few shattering sounds were heard, and the nanoparts of the steel 470 battlesuit turned into powder. The connections between various parts were also disconnected. The remaining non-nanaized part was removed by Drax. Tony shook his head and got up from the ground. So where did Levi leave me? Tony looked at the surrounding environment and these strange people, little raccoons, greenskins, tree people. I temporarily called them as a human being. I don't know where Levi went. To the zoo again. There was a drinking duck, a dog in a spacesuit, and a raccoon that spoke human words. This is our spaceship, and I am the captain. Star-Lord arranged a name for himself. Rocket was not happy and immediately retorted, I am the captain. Hey, I thought it was a stuffed toy. Tony thought that this time he might go back and expand the Stark building, and add some new animals to the Stark zoo. Might as well be a stuffed toy. Rocket snorted. So this spaceship is still on its way to Earth. Tony looked over at the driver's seat, and the Earth was getting closer and closer outside the window. Levi said he wants us to do him a favor. After this, he will give the spaceship to me. Star-Lord pointed at himself with his thumb and said, After all, I am still the captain. Oh. Tony's face was serious, and he suddenly felt that a prodigal son had ruined all his family property. This horse is a spaceship. The technology inside it surpasses Earth technology by who knows how many years. This prodigal son actually gave it away as soon as he said it would be given away. What kind of favor requires a spaceship as payment? Tony hates this kind of behavior. But since it was promised, a spaceship should be sent as well. But before that, Tony felt that he needed to take on the responsibility of captain. Then fly to Earth now, target, the United States, New York, Manhattan, Stark International Building. Tony pointed to the Earth. Star-Lord smiled condescendingly and said, Hey, how could this spaceship listen to you? So. The familiar voice of J.A.R.V.I.S came, Sir, the route has been changed. Hey! Since when did this spaceship have an artificial intelligence system? Star-Lord said in surprise, We have obviously been with him for so long. J.A.R.V.I.S heard what Star-Lord said and replied, Mr. Peter Quill, the setting Mr. Levi gave me is to activate voice response when Mr. Tony Stark's voice is detected. Okay. Star-Lord complained helplessly, What kind of setting is this? Rocket takes the captain's back door. Peter. Tony also laughed, but he was not laughing at Star-Lord but Levi. He was very happy that J.A.R.V.I.S was added to the system of the spacecraft. Now J.A.R.V.I.S can upload various technologies and data of the spacecraft to the server. Well, now Captain Tony takes over and rushes to Earth with all his strength. J.A.R.V.I.S controls the spacecraft to accelerate towards the Earth. At the same time, the battle in Sokovia has entered a fever pitch. Robot Zora swung 2 whips around Levi's arms, and Levi used his strong strength to pull Zora over. At this time, Robot Zola activated the strong electric current on the whip, and the electric current was transmitted to Levi, and crackling electric current spread on his body surface. That whip cord. Levi was not afraid of this intensity of electric current, but instead threw out the Eternal Dagger and went straight to the opponent's door. Mecha Zora's virtual ability is completely unafraid of this attack, giving Levi the feeling of fighting a phantom. The electric whip was thrown down, Robot Zora's chest opened, and an inexplicable device appeared, which looked like Tony's reactor. The light emerging from the device seemed to be condensing energy. Seeing this, Li Wei changed back to the Eternal Dagger, took out the Eternal Memory and inserted it into the dagger, boom. The energy in Robot Zora's chest has been accumulated and launched instantly. Levi swung the cloak behind him to protect his body, and the Eternal Robe held up the scorching light, but Levi felt that the temperature was rising bit by bit. Soon the Eternal Salute was melted to create a hole, and now I had to use the ability to teleport to avoid it. The yellow light lost its attack target and went straight to the ground. In an instant, a ravine was swept out of the ground by the laser. Eternal, maximum drive. Let me show you the true power of Eternal. The voice came from behind, and Robot Zora was shocked. It was Levi who pulled the trigger of the Eternal Dagger. Blue flames burned on the feet, and the flames driven by the roundhouse kick seemed to tear apart the space. The distorted space brings the opponent's virtual state back to its original shape. Eternal Requiem. This kick penetrated Robot Zora's body and cut it off at the waist. The space was also shattered at this moment. The endless black void ate away parts of Robot Zora. Buzz. Useless Kamen Rider. Let's die together. Zola laughed sinisterly. On his deathbed, he seemed to have regained his human emotions. Zora detonated the bomb in his body, and seeing the strange light emitting from the core of the machine Zora in front of him, Levi could only open the portal and escape, but his 3.6 movements were still a step too slow. Boom! The bomb exploded, Levi covered his head with his arms, and the hot flames engulfed him. Levi! Black Widow exclaimed. Others also looked at this scene blankly. Their strongest hero has just come back, why should he be sent away? Don't scream. I'm fine. Levi walked out of the flames, extinguished the flames on his body, and his transformation changed from eternity to the Golden Magician. It's okay. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Boom! The scarlet magic blew Hawkeye to the ground. Hawkeye lay on the ground helplessly and said, I think I can still save him coming. Phil Coulson and Natasha Romanoff both turned their weapons on Scarlet Witch. The current Wanda is far from the Scarlet Witch who can manipulate reality and is extremely skilled in origin magic. Power. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.